This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1798, Previews! I'm Chris Eberle.
I'm Ian Levenstein.
I'm Adam Murdough.
And I'm Bryan Deemer.
Back again, and it is previews time.
And we rejoice as the founder has joined us.
You make such a big deal out of it. I'm just a person. I'm just a nerd who wanted to talk about comics.
Yeah, but I bask in your radiance, my friend. Come on.
Hey, come on.
I wish Keiko would bask in my radiance.
Hi-oh.
I was. So that took what? That was a little longer than normal for you to get to that. Well done.
You know, I'm rusty. What can I say? I haven't been on for a while.
Oh,
well, post-pandemic, when we have the next, CGS party, you can at least see her.
Absolutely.
I'll take what I can get.
Tonight, by the way, just for the listener's sake, I'm wearing my Rick and Morty Days of Future Past shirt.
Oh, that's a great shirt.
Yep. And I'm very much ready to talk some comics along with you fine gentlemen.
Hey, since I probably won't be on the episode when you discuss it,
mm-hmm.
I love the first two episodes of WandaVision, and I can't wait for the payoff. And I'm sure that Marvel's going to give us something that is going to blow our socks off. So that's all I'm going to say and talk about it next time or whatever.
Definitely, 100% agree with you, man. And yeah, we'll get further details on the next comic talk, and Murd can talk about it too.
So. Yes,
because I seen it.
It's a brave new world, people. It's a brave new world. But as part of that brave new world, sometimes you need to store comic books in a proper fashion. And luckily, there's something you can use to make that a lot easier. Tell us more about it, Murd.
I'd be happy to, Ian. We're talking about drawer boxes, folks. The easy access storage solution brought to you by the Collection Drawer Company, who have been making these drawer boxes for 15 years now. Celebrating 15 years of making your collections more accessible. And the drawer box difference is it's constructed as a drawer that is pulled forward out of an outer reinforced cardboard shell. There is no lid to lift off the top. So it's not top accessible, it's front accessible, which means that if you, like most people, stack up your long boxes at home, one on top of the other vertically, it's a lot easier to get comics out of the box on the bottom because you don't need to move the whole stack over to pull that lid off the top of the box. There is no lid. You just pull the drawer out the front and your comics are right there. No fuss, no muss, no coconuts. It's really a delight. The Collection Drawer Company...
I'm sorry, Murdough. I was just going to riff there. I used to have 5 boxes stacked on top of one another. So I had 4 rows of 5 boxes each, and they worked fine. The bottom row, no problem.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And because they are so sturdy, they worked hard over the past couple of years to improve their originally sturdy cardboard design, that now that they can actually survive blows from a sledgehammer. There's footage on the internet somewhere that actually shows them doing this. So if they can survive that, they can certainly survive being stacked on top of each other, 5 or even 6 high. They're available in a variety of sizes and shapes. You can store things other than comics in them, LP records, action figures, etc. And there's also accessories available with them, such as the box sort upright dividers, which help to keep your comics from flopping around inside your drawer boxes. You pull that drawer in and push out and push it back in. And also the box locks stabilizing anchors, which help to stabilize your vertical stacks of drawer boxes. And they also offer volume discounts. So if you go to collectiondrawer.com, which is their website, and make an inquiry, they can work with you to they'll give you a bulk deal if you need to house a large collection of comics or rehouse them in drawer boxes. They'll be able to make that happen for you at a reasonable price. So that's the collectiondrawer.com. Go there and find out what all the flap about drawer boxes is all about.
Yes, indeed. And just about as old as we are and still kicking just like we are. So go figure. Drawer boxes. Also sponsored one final time here to mention this, as we will mention on every episode, by you over at patreon.com/comicgeekspeak. And 84 patrons we are up to at $255 per month, over our $200 goal by a long shot at this point. You guys are amazing. And we keep getting more and more listeners willing to put in their dollar pretty much on a regular basis now, and it's really awesome. In fact, there'll even be some suggestions on this previous episode as I put out a call on the Patreon to any patrons who had any call outs for today's previews, and there were a couple that came on in. So we'll go ahead and make sure to shout out those books when we get to them on today's episode. So patreon.com/comicgeekspeak.
You know, Ian,
Generosity is humbling.
that's fantastic because obviously the previews are still so vast. We can't possibly get to everything in there that's worth talking about. So that's really helpful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. Nice simple way to get the patrons involved. So figured why the heck not? All right, let's go ahead and get this thing started.
Image.
And yep, we will indeed start with Image as I share my screen, and we'll get that going. There we go. Technology at its finest right there. And beginning on page 32 with Gillum March and Dan Christensen's new Carmen #1. Spanish writer and artist known for Batman, Catwoman, and Harley Quinn. And he's got a new 5-part series about a unconventional angel named Carmen and the young woman she takes under her wing when a case of heartbreak strikes hard. So just in time for Valentine's Day, we get a book that's well, I mean, it looks gorgeous from the preview pages that they have here. I mean, Gillum March is a terrific artist, and I'm intrigued as to what we're going to wind up getting from this book.
And the art is breathtaking.
Yes, it is.
Page 36, a new offering from writer Scott Snyder and artist Tony Daniel. And I'm going to mispronounce his name. I apologize. Tomu Mori.
Pretty close.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, honey. Nocterra #1.
Yeah, this is this has been in the works for a while. I feel like I've been hearing about this one kicking around the comic sites for a little bit, but obviously Snyder and Daniel have their pedigree of DC stuff, and now very curious to see what their independent work is going to turn out this time around.
Yeah.
I love me some. I don't say this as like an insult, but like I love me some throwback '90s artwork. But this is, Tony Daniel is. I think he started in a place of like Jim Lee and Silvestri, right, and then like moved and brought the future with it, right, and he's evolved it. But man, it's gorgeous.
It really is, yeah.
Well, look at that panel of the close-up of her face as she's behind the wheel. That is stunning artwork.
It is.
Just the expressiveness in that one panel.
Well, and there's a lot of the color artists work going on in there to make it so.
Say the aforementioned Tomeu Mori has a lot to do with that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I mean every single bit of like facial features going on in this, the tones and everything are bright and dark at the same time. It looks like it's going to be a breathtaking book to behold.
And the premise sounds interesting too. So 10 years to the world is plunged into an everlasting night that turns all living creatures into monstrous shades. The only way to survive is to stay close to artificial light. So
I like that light effect on the face of our protagonist here as well. Like that sort of like swirling effect going on. Very cool. All right, what else we got for Image?
There's always a healthy amount of #1 issues from Joe Henderson, Lee Garbett, Antonio Fabella. Shadecraft #1. Nothing like teenage angst combined with actually being afraid of shadows that could actually harm you. So,
yeah, that's I think one of comic books' favorite horror tropes, or shadows that can attack you.
Yep. And then throw in the anxiety of teenage life, and this could be fun.
Yes, it could. Yeah. Again, very, very lovingly rendered artwork as well. Very realistic facial expressions and faces, for that matter. Nothing looks too generic here. It looks like each character has their own distinct
And Ian,
personality.
if you go to the next page, that bottom panel is breathtaking.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That's beautiful artwork.
Very nice. Yep. How about this Ultra Mega by James Harren? Looks like a send up to the Sentai series of Japan from the looks of it. It's a cosmic plague that's spread, transforming everyday people into violent, monstrous kaiju. But only the Ultra Mega, 3 individuals imbued with incredible powers, hold the line against this madness. James Harren and Dave Stewart are your artists on this one. And by God, that cover is so cool and so Japanese. I am immediately intrigued with this.
Murd, would you indulge you for a second and just say the word kaiju?
Kaiju.
Ah, no one knows better.
Happy to indulge, Chris.
You have such weird kinks.
God, I'm glad Deemer's here. I always love feeling lovingly belittled. Magnificent.
I mean, look, your kink isn't my kink, but your kink is okay. All right.
All right, so we got to talk about age 50 because I've been raving about this book for the past couple of years. On a recent comic talk, I discussed the second trade that had come out, and I'm really excited for this. So now I'm going to pick up the book in floppy format because I'm caught up to it in trade. Again, the Sangarai family. This is in 1920s U.S. Out of Harlem, and they're monster hunters, and just dealing with the legacy of the family and what's gone on in their past and how their mission has cost them. Essentially, of course, it also deals with racial themes in American history at the time, and also about just the dynamics within the family. This is a great book by the superstar team of Walker, Sanford Green, and also co-writer Chuck Brown. I can't recommend it enough. So, looking forward to this new issue.
Indeed.
And I think you told me, Ian, this has been optioned for a film, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, not coming anytime soon, but it has indeed been optioned.
I love his artwork, and Sanford he's been at every convention I've ever been to, and he's always like a super chill, fun guy.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah. I've had the opportunity to talk to him once or twice myself as well, and really, really cool dude.
Well, he's doing some of the best work of his career here.
Yep.
What else from? Oh, wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Well, if you want to talk about the fall, go ahead. I don't want to steal your thunder there.
No. Please go right ahead. I mean, I'll just comment on it real quick that this does look interesting by Jared Maralt, and it's looks like it looked kind of a post-apocalyptic feel to it. After losing his wife, one father will have to race a world in free fall, shaking to its core by an economic, social, political, and health crisis without precedent. We totally are not experiencing that right now. And Image has totally never put out a book like that before. It does look really awesome though, and the artwork almost Quitely-esque on the cover.
Yeah.
So yeah, curious to see how it's going to be.
They've really raised the stakes when they reference one of America's greatest novelists, Cormac McCarthy, in the ad for this. So that really raises the expectations for the fall.
Definitely, yes. And again, the artwork is very, very nicely rendered.
Yeah, I see your point about Quietly. Okay, so page 56.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in my last shipment, I got the first installment in the latest Brubaker and Phillips and Son creation, which is Reckless. So for years, I've been raving on this podcast about what I consider the greatest creative team in comics today, which is Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. I've raved about all their different noir stuff they've done. We've talked about many of those stories ad infinitum. And when I got the first installment of this they're doing a series of graphic novels now, not monthly floppies. And I've talked about before how I think in many ways this may be the future of the medium in this country. But
Sure.
When I got this first hardcover, I immediately was elated, tore it out of the box. The earliest opportunity, I sat down and read it. And once again, just I'll do a campy, James Bond song quote. Nobody does it better. So what they're doing here is they're doing a riff on like 1970s, 80s, like pulp novel books you'd buy, like of like serialized books about different characters, like criminals or vigilantes or thing. And they've done the vigilante riff before with Kill or Be Killed. So this is more like the anti-hero who is very damaged in his past, but tries to sort of recover himself and be a sort of a force for good in a morally compromised world. And this takes place in the 1980s, and the character whose last name is Reckless is a former 60s radical turned like sort of private eye, and that alone should be enough because it's Brubaker and Phillips running with that concept.
Right.
The first graphic novel was tremendous. I'm telling you right now, if we do our award show, it's my OGN of the year without question. There's most comics, and there's this type of material for me. So if I just ordered this and then the only thing I ordered for the month, I would still have great faith in the comic book medium. So.
Nice. Yep. I mean, it's Brubaker and Phillips. I mean, there's really nothing else that needs to be said. You just say those names, and immediately it's worth checking out. And every single time I see the cover to one of their books, I just think movie. And it's such a great like pulp cover with this.
Point. Yep.
So taken in by it, and I mean, then the interior artwork is stunning in its own right. So great stuff.
Ian, again, I want to salute you for putting up the visuals. Really enhances everything. Well done, brother.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure.
What else for Image, brothers?
I mean, I'll mention in passing Big Girls Volume 1 because I think we mentioned it on the show once or twice. Jason Howard. This is the first 6 issues of that collected. It's not a $9.99 Image trade. It's the full price $14.99, but I'm sure you can get it discounted, whether it be a DCBS or Amazon for a decent deal. So look for it if you can find it. Merge, you got anything else at Image?
I don't believe so. Nothing first run. Just issues of continuing series or miniseries.
Sure. My last one that I'll mention then is just Remender's Scumbag Volume 1. Puts the first 5 issues of Remender's new series along with Louis LaRosa, Andrew Robinson, Eric Powell, Roland Bashi, Wes Craig, and Moreno Dionisio together into one volume here. And it's Remender. It's bound to be intriguing and a little bit weird, and kind of looks like it's almost going for like a grindhouse feel with this.
I love the secondary title, Cocaine Finger.
Yes. Clearly the Lost Bond movie that we've never seen. But this is indeed one of Image's $9.99 trades, and puts 5 issues out there, and will certainly be a good way to get into the series and see whether it's for me. And with that, over to Dark Horse.
All right.
Okay. What do we begin?
So, Ian, the first book they're featuring here seems like it's your kind of meat.
Yes, it does actually, and it was mentioned by Steve Sousa over at the Patreon. It's Orphan and the Five Beasts, #1 by James Sticco. Brand new kung fu epic. Yeah, you're right. It is my style.
He's awesome too. He is so good. We talked about Orkstein, 10 years ago, more than whatever that came out. That was awesome.
He's had a couple of Godzilla projects in the meantime, which were also very easy on the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I gave away one of his original pages as a Muddle the Murd prize a little while ago.
Whoa, that's epic.
And here we are with spurred on by his master's dying words, the adopted warrior Orphan Mo seeks to find and kill 5 former disciples who now threaten the land with corruption from their demonic powers.
There, that a boy.
Yep. And
I wish I wish the. Oh my God! Look at that artwork.
So
It's
nice.
awesome.
Yep. Beautiful.
I miss the days of it was the early 90s. I don't remember the name of the company, but they imported and translated some Chinese kung fu comics.
Mhm.
And I got all of them, and they were so good. They were just so good. And I wish that was still a thing that was coming out. Oh,
Yeah, you don't really get a lot of Chinese comics translated these days, or in general. So I'd be curious to see some of that stuff make it over at some point.
what was the name of it? Does anybody remember what the name of that publisher? There were like 4 or 5 titles. Fist of Buddha's Palm and some other ones. Oh, so good. I'm gonna look it up. Keep going.
Another Critical Role series for any of you D&D fans. Critical Role Tales of Exandria, #1. Again, D&D is huge right now, and this is one of the largest running D&D projects of this generation, pretty much. I'm pretty sure there's an animated series on the way with Amazon Prime and a bunch of other stuff. So if you want to be more, find out more about the side stories of Critical Role, this will be a good way to do so in comic book form.
It was Jade Man Comics was the name of the company, and there was Force of Buddha's Palm and some others. Oh my God, they were so. If you ever see those in a 25-cent bin, do yourself a favor and pick them up, because you will not be disappointed.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That was page 86, by the way, for any of you audio listeners.
What I wanted to point out, we mentioned this last month, but I think it's worth just mentioning again, is on page 94, Black Hammer Visions, number 2 of 8.
Mhm.
The new anthology series in the world of Black Hammer, Jeff Lemire's vision of sort of his version of like a golden age, which you've praised in the show again ad infinitum, and again an anthology series. And like last month, Patton Oswalt's writing a story. This month, Jeff Johns is writing a story. There's nothing more to say. If you haven't read Black Hammer and you love the concept of the superhero, or even more so, you enjoy deconstructions of superheroes or certain ages of superheroes, get the book.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know Ian was just a recent convert, so.
Yes, indeed. And we also had a listener by the name of Brian Kelly come to the supergroup to let us know he's usually a big 2 reader, but he heard us praising Black Hammer and got the first 4 trades from his library, and now he's completely hooked.
Oh, terrific.
Yep.
Yeah, that's you know what? I'm glad you also mentioned the library thing, because more and more in recent years, I've really been relying on my library, like especially if I want to get stuff for like research for the show, and it just use your library. Like, a lot of good stuff.
Absolutely. Speaking of libraries, how about a library edition? Ether, right on top of that on page 93. Matt Kint, a hardcover collection of his Interdimensional Explorer book about a brilliant scientist who enters the magical world of ether and stumbles onto a great responsibility that takes him through the center of volcanoes, deserts full of living mummies and sphinxes, and a bizarre fairy forest, all leading towards a final climactic battle for the fate of both worlds. This sounds epic as heck, and I need to check this out. So there we go with that.
Ian, I wanted to ask you, because I'm jumping ahead a bit, but I noticed in Marvel, they now have the Alien property.
Yes.
And that was Dark Horse for decades.
It
So
sure was.
Did they just lose that, or?
I believe that is the case. I think that
Disney owns Fox, right?
exactly. I was just going to.
Right, okay, there you go.
Yes, I guess it must have been time to renew, and rather than do so, similar to what happened, back when Star Wars contract lapsed, Marvel went ahead and gobbled it up because it's similar properties and same licensees. So yeah, just made sense, I guess.
Again, I want to take that opportunity to really laud all the great work Dark Horse did with a lot of these properties for over 20 years. They produced a lot of wonderful stories.
Yep.
With those various properties.
Definitely. I'll mention 96, just that it's the final issue, that there will be a collection coming soon for the True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys National Anthem, Gerard Way's new project, along with Sean Simon that we've mentioned on previous previews. This is issue 6, so Stay tuned for the collection.
I'm going to jump ahead for a moment to page 105, just because in all the years I had a store, I would always try to carry reprints of EC books because they're so vital to just appreciating the history of the American comic book medium and its development.
Sure.
And so often, Volume 1 of Tales from the Crypt was never in print, time and time again, for whatever reason. And now I see that Dark Horse is printing the Volume 1 of the Archive edition. And A, that's great to see, and B, anyone who's interested in this vital period in comic book history, pre-code, you got to read some of the EC stuff, and Tales from the Crypt Volume 1 is a great place to start. So,
well, my history with EC is incredibly limited, so this might be a way to get me into that, especially since it's only $20 for that large tome of a book. So, there we go. All right. Anything else on Dark Horse?
I'm good.
You just passed some Dave Wachter art there.
Oh,
Breath of Bones, right? There
we go.
Right there.
Mm-hmm.
Written by horror maven Steve Niles with help from Matt Santoro and our very talented friend, Dave Wachter, drawing the art on this tale of World War II Nazi-occupied Poland, I think, and the building of the legendary Jewish golem. And Dave Wachter draws some... He's very good at drawing monsters, and the golem here is no exception.
Well,
so if you've just been turned on to his art by the current Iron Fist miniseries, this is something he did a couple of years ago. It's also worth your time and money.
Well, I missed this the first time around. Both Deemer and Murd, and it's about the frickin' Jewish golem. So clearly it's made for me. So I will certainly check this out on page 106. It's Wachter, it's Niles. It's bound to be great stuff.
Also, in Dave Wachter news, you see he posted on Facebook today some pictures from his Iron Fist comic that came out today.
Yep.
It's in comic stores today. It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yep. It sure is.
I've never felt so much pride for someone. When we first started the show, he's one of our first listeners, and his comic art was not very good. It was 15, 16 years ago, and it's just, he'll tell you the same thing. And man, he came a long way, and now he's living the dream and doing books for Marvel and everybody. It's so cool.
I'm looking in my office. I have he did a full sketch for me on our super show we did in 2013 of Thanos wearing the Infinity Gauntlet. It's absolutely amazing. And he gave it to me for free.
Yeah, he's so nice.
I mean, I read Scar Tissue back in the day.
That was his first book. Yeah, and it was, the art was questionable.
Yeah. But you could see the beginnings there of something great, and he certainly has become that over the years. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, I think that's it for me on Dark Horse. So I guess it's over to DC.
All right.
So can I just say, DC has a real knack for, just when I'm reading the most books from them that I've ever read, then they just cancel everything and start over, and then then I cut down on my number of books. Right before 52, when Jeff Johns was writing all the awesome books, and then they reset everything, then I went down, and then it happened again later. They got me back, and then they did something, and then they did it again. It's I was reading all the Bendis books, it was 4 or 5 books from DC every month, more than I was reading Marvel, and then they just went, hey, everything's going away, and then it's come back, and it's a little different, and now Bendis is writing, I think, 1 book in this previews as all I saw. So it's just when they have me, then they cut me off at the knees.
Bendis is taking over Justice League. I
Yeah.
do. So I mean that's at least something that's on the horizon there.
Right. I assume he's going to be writing a few more, but
Yeah.
I don't know why they do that to me.
I know. I hear you, because I mean I was really into a lot of the Rebirth stuff for a while there, and now we've got a new initiative. I mean, it has the word infinite in it, so I'm hoping that's a good sign. because anything that reminds us of the infinite realities out there, it can't possibly be so bad. Plus, I'm also really loving Damien's new costume that they introduced, and some of the other new costumes that they're putting out there too look really cool. But we'll just have to see how this new initiative actually turns out, and whether or not we get good books more than we get so books. As this thing scrolls way faster than I wanted to, let's go ahead and yeah. So I guess we start off with Infinite Frontier number 0. And it's a number 0 comic that they are charging $6 for, which is
Guess how many copies I'm gonna buy? 0.
Yeah. I have a DC Universe, DC Infinite account that I just bought a year's worth for, because I want to see how this new version of it works out. And it cost me, I think, $70 for the year, which is not too terrible. And I will wait these 6 months, and 6 months from now, I will read Infinite Frontier number 0. I'm not spending $6 on it. It's not happening.
Yeah.
Discuss it then, brother.
But I mean, the wealth of creators on this is pretty great, and the wraparound cover by Jurgens is, as usual, gorgeous.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
but I'm with Deemer. It's too pricey.
Yeah, I hear.
But that's the way of things now.
Yep. The alternate cover as well. Certainly something involving someone who looks way too much like a Marvel character, in my opinion, and Spectre. I don't know who that is supposed to be there, whether that's Diana or whether that's somebody else.
Because it looks like Ileana, right?
It does, yeah.
Like Lady Sif.
Yeah.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
Good point, Murd. Good point. Yeah. How about this with Batman Urban Legends?
I remember when that was cool, when it was Legends of the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Series.
Or Shadow of the Bat.
Yeah, take your pick. I don't know. I sound like such an old man now. It's just like, I've always been such a Marvel guy, and then in 2000,
yeah,
I was convinced to be a DC guy because of all of Jeff Johns' amazing work on JSA and other stuff, right? And it was like Flash. It was so good, right? And I got completely sucked in, and then they cut me off, and then they built me back up, and they cut me off, and they built me back up, and they cut me off again. It's like, do you want me to be a DC fan or not? So I'm just a little bitter,
This Batman Urban Legends, though, has me exactly. It has me at Zdarsky, and I'm interested in that. Matthew Rosenberg, pretty good writer too. Stephanie Phillips, Brandon Thomas, art by Eddie Barros and Marcus Toe, two of my favorite DC artists of the last couple of years. And I just love these sort of down to earth, gritty stories. And Zdarsky is doing a 6-part story chronicling Red Hood's investigation of a new drug sweeping through Gotham, and I'm willing to give that a go. We'll see how it turns out.
For $8?
Not for that.
It's a prestige performance.
Infinite Frontier, and yet it's $1 more.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing here with the pricing. I think
apparently Infinite Frontier means infinite bank account, and
supposedly the case. Yeah, I don't know. I'm worried about that pricing.
Well, none of that's surprising. I mean, they're trying to milk a shrinking demographic, so
right.
That's to be expected.
Yeah. Joker number 1, also featuring Punchline on page 8. James Tynion IV, and a backup story also by James Tynion IV, art by Gilliam March. So you got a great writer, you got an amazing artist on this one, and a hopefully much more reasonable price. Why, yes, it's $4.99 versus the $8.99. So all right, okay, getting a little bit further down, getting a little bit more back into the normal here. Maybe this will work out, but this is the first time Joker's ever had an ongoing, correct?
No, there was the one in the 70s.
Yeah.
Oh, there was one in the 70s. Okay.
Didn't last all that long, but it was technically ongoing.
How many issues does it have to be for it to be ongoing? Does it have to be not end to have an endpoint, and then it's ongoing?
Right. It's It's less a matter of length than a matter of intent.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And if you want good, wacky Bronze Age fun, definitely pick out that series.
Yeah. All right, what else we got here in DC? Ooh, wow, look at that Quitely variant.
Yeah, I was noticing that.
Man. Scaly man, very, very scaly man. And is it just me, or does the Riccardo Federici cover kind of look like John Leguizamo?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
good call, Ian.
Yeah.
Could have used him as a reference.
Yeah, more than likely. Got some sneak peek pages here with some iconic looking, Joker-esque images and yada, yada, yada. And then a new Harley Quinn series directly following by Stephanie Phillips and Riley Rossmo. And I think I'm liking this style of Harley Quinn outfit way more. For one thing, she's wearing pants.
Call it a compromise from between the pre and post Flashpoint styles.
Exactly. Yeah. But Stephanie Phillips on the writing here, and the artwork looks pretty darn good. Kind of like a cross between a manga style and like a animated series style going on. Got more Suicide Squad action, Swamp Thing, whole bunch of number ones.
Yeah, the Mike Perkins art. I mean, Mike is great, and this cover really is very evocative of like the '80s Swamp Thing stuff, which I think is super cool.
Yep. And written by the man with the coolest pseudonym in the business, Ram V or Ram the Fifth, if you want to call it that.
Interesting, because Marvel is doing a major Man-Thing event over on the other side of the street. So both of the classic muck monsters of the comic universe are both getting their due in this month's previews.
Yep.
One of them is celebrating a 50th anniversary.
Yep.
Is it a giant size anniversary or?
Ian, there you go. I know you get that Borscht back in. Buckle up, baby. Well done.
Hey, they're the ones who decided to put out the giant size.
Okay? They sure did.
Page 17, Teen Titans Academy, Tim Sheridan and Rafa Sandoval. Shades of when there was a Mutant Academy over at Marvel, as these are the up and comers in the Teen Titans world. And this is where we'll get our present day introduction to Red X, a character that was introduced in the Teen Titans animated series. So, Deemer, are you dropping Superman with the new writer, or are you going to give it a shot?
I might do. I'm probably also going to wait a few months and then do the DC digital thing. I'm not necessarily a huge Superman fan. I'm just more of a Bendis fan. And I'm certainly a John Romita Jr. fan. So Action, I've been absolutely adoring Action for the last 6 or 8 months or however long. And that's just been my favorite book of the month. And so I'm just super disappointed to see it go away. So I don't know. Like, I might read a few issues when it's digital just because it's there, but it's not like I love Superman.
Well, they certainly having art by Phil Hester is a good way to get me.
I haven't seen his art in quite some time.
Yeah, I do love Phil's work. It is fantastic. So,
yep.
I don't think I've read anything that Philip Kennedy Johnson has done in the past. But regardless of my ignorance of his reputation, I will give this first 2-issue arc a try for one major reason. If you can look at the top of that image, and you'll see the reason why. He's decided to include Toyman.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
Pouring in on those multicolored gonzo balloons.
And I'm beyond happy that Leather Jacket Superboy is still around. So that's making me happy too.
Connell, baby.
Heck yeah. And then Action, we have Philip Kennedy Johnson on writing. Backup story written by Becky Cloonan. And
that's cool.
Very talented creator.
Yep. Michael Conrad on art.
Oh, actually, Conrad is co-writing. The art is by Michael Avon Oeming.
Oh, yes. Very good point. So you've got, wow. So you've got art and cover by Phil Hester and the backup story by Michael Avon Oeming. Wow. That is stacking the deck. And here we are with Batman. Still the same writer, James Tynion the Fourth. I know they changed their plans originally because I know when they shuffled the deck and didn't go with 5G. Originally, I think James Tynion the Fourth was supposed to be on a quote unquote 1 year fill-in arc, but now he's the full-time writer on Batman. And I'm all for that. James Tynion the Fourth has been doing a killer job. He did a great job with Detective before this, and I really like what he's been doing with the Batman universe for a while now, and happy to see him continue. Rico Tamaki on Detective. Gene Lin Yang still on Batman Superman.
Looks like we're visiting a parallel Earth based loosely on the 40s serials of Superman and Batman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good point, Murray. Look at the costumes. Absolutely.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Huh. And Yvonne Hayes on the art for that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep. Catwoman back in black. Costume wise. And so the redemption of Wally West begins in The Flash number 768. Okay, sure. They really didn't have to redeem him in the first place, but Heroes in Crisis made that a necessity, and I guess we're getting that now with Jeremy Adams on writing and art and cover by Brandon Peterson. Huge fan of Brandon Peterson, so looking forward to that, and hopefully Jeremy Adams gives me a Wally West story I'm happy about on page 29.
Like Jay Garrick's involved, the cover is to be trusted.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, dinosaurs of Pearl Harbor and the future, maybe. Cool.
Yep. And here we are with the Justice League.
There you go, Brian.
Yeah. Man, what the hell books are going to be left for Bendis to write? Like, because we've scrolled through all the major ones. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, he still hasn't written Batman technically, unless you count the Walmart stuff.
I'm sorry, you cut out for a second.
Oh, no, he still hasn't written Batman unless you count the Walmart stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. They can always crank out just another Batman series because it's never stopped them before. So,
right. But hey, it's Bendis and Marquez on Justice League, and that is a team I have been a huge fan of for forever. And getting to see them work on a team book like this, that's even better. And I see Con-El in the classic black t-shirt costume from the Jeff Johns era of Teen Titans in the back over there. So I'm wondering what that's going to have to do with everything. That's on, what was the page number of that? 31, Bendis and Marquez.
guys, I gotta take off. Thank you for letting me join you.
Oh, thank you. Anything you wanted to say about Marvel, my friend?
I don't know. I didn't even get to look at the previews. I was doing it live, baby.
Doing it live. All right.
Yeah.
Well, either way.
As always, my friend, we're honored.
Yep. Good to have you on, Deemer.
Yeah. Have a good rest of your night.
Take care, brother.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night. Nightwing, number 78. Tom Taylor on the writing. Bruno Redondo on art. I do appreciate that for a lot of these previews, they're actually just giving us preview pages to go along with it, even if it's not final art. So we get a basic idea of what the book's going to look like on the inside. Because with all the creative turnover, I think it makes a lot of sense. Wonder Woman by Cloonan. and art by Travis Moore.
It's fantastic. Wow.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. And I love that.
Becky Cloonan a great creator. I always enjoy her work.
Oh yeah, definitely. But the costume they have Wonder Woman in now, actually the costumes across the board look stunning. Like they've done a really good job of rendering and designing the Amazons.
Yeah.
Really nice. So Murd, you picking this up?
It was a foregone conclusion, Ian. It's yet another iteration of the Syndicators. And yes, they're still wearing those Frank Quitely designed costumes that I've never really warmed to. But hey, I do enjoy stories on Earth 3, whatever form. And so, yep, I will definitely be buying this. It's technically the second miniseries if you count Convergence, and a lot of people don't. But whatever, I'm definitely in for this one.
Yeah. They yet again tease us with the Jim Chung cover, by the way.
Oh God, I love Jim Chung's work.
He's great. It's just he's mostly covers these days. And this is on page 37, by the way. Yeah. Andy Schmidt on the writing, art by Kieran McCone. And they don't actually give us preview pages for this. So this is all we get so far. So we'll have to wait and see what the actual interior is going to look like for this. And how about this? This was the most interesting thing in the previews for me, I think. Superman Red and Blue. Now on page 39, kind of the Superman version of, Batman Black and White. And all of these stories are going to utilize only the colors of red and blue. And that's a really interesting way to do it. And I love the images that we're seeing so far. Very, very intrigued to see what.
Let's hope the stories match that.
Most definitely, sure, yeah. Whole bunch of writers involved, including John.
I agree, and they're very striking.
Yep. New Wonder Woman series, Sensational Wonder Woman by Stephanie Phillips. So this is part of the 80th anniversary.
Yep, 80th anniversary.
Yep. Very cool. How about this? Page 41, The Mystery of the Meanest Teacher, a Johnny Constantine graphic novel. Kid Constantine, baby.
Hey, look, Kirby's Demon is in there.
Yeah. No, I'm digging this. I could easily see this as an animated series at some point. But yeah, Ryan North on the writing, art and cover by Derek Charm.
It is a little eerie though to see like a childlike Constantine grinning in a cartoonish fashion in his trench coat. Not emotions you usually associate with Constantine, like the look of cheerfulness on his face, but
it makes me think of Watchmen Babies. V is for vacation.
Oh boy.
Okay, it's Ryan North, the mind behind the long-running Adventure Time comic put out by Boom, and also the Squirrel Girl in Marvel. So,
yep,
he'd come up with some interesting young Constantine ideas, I think.
Indeed, and I just watched the whole of the new Hardy Boys series on Hulu. Speaking of reimaginings and mysteries.
Oh, how was that?
Surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they said it in the 80s, so it's kind of like a Stranger Things vibe. And there are even some mystical elements that they bring in there, but that's always been the case with the Hardy Boys to a point. But I really enjoyed it. It was actually way better than I was expecting it to be.
All right.
Yep. All right, what else we got? Whole bunch of graphic novels this month. I will mention that the Zatanna mini graphic novel that I was thrilled about has been resolicited, and they haven't actually resolicited the date yet. So they just canceled the orders for now, and it will be coming out at a later time. Better come out though, because I'm really looking forward to that. And again, anything you base in my old hometown, like I want that.
Hang in there, Ian Pooh. Hang in there.
Teen Titans Raven, I think, is probably of all these the ones that I'm the most interested in. And it's a hardcover by Kami Garcia with Gabrielle Picola. We'll definitely.
And it's got a testimonial from Marv Wolfman.
Yes, indeed. Yep.
Yeah, and I love when I see they putting characters in these types of formats, because anything that reaches a wider audience, which hopefully these books do, is is welcome.
Certainly. Yep. All right. Anything else in singles from you guys? Well, I'm sure, Chris, you want to mention at least in passing Batman Catwoman.
I'll talk about when we do our next comic talk, because we really haven't discussed the book in any detail yet. So I look forward to that. I mean, I'm enjoying it, but as I said before, just quickly, if you didn't like Tom King's run on Batman, you're probably really not going to like this. So just friendly warning there.
Fair enough. All right, let's head on over to trades. Although, yeah, I'll just mention the cover of this. I don't even really care. It's Neil Adams. So if you're a fan of Neil Adams' writing of the last couple of years, Batman versus Ra's al Ghul, there's 3 Batman and they're fighting each other, and Ra's al
And they
Ghul.
got numbers.
They do. So you can keep track of who they are.
Yeah, I love Neil Adams' work. I don't know about his writing, but always happy to see his art.
Oh, sure.
Go back just quickly. That Liam Sharp cover in Green Lantern was stunning.
Very, very nice.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That is gorgeous. Woof.
Yeah.
Looks like the Green Lantern is coming to an end here.
Yep.
We're rounding out season 2.
So there is no planned season 3 that we know of?
Well, not that I know of, anyway.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'm sure if Morrison has an idea for a story, DC's probably just going to say yes and let him do it, because he is their guy. Looney Tunes 259.
Dollyfish, Murd.
Yep.
Yes, it is Jolly Fish, and this Daffy Duck is the annoying door-to-door salesman. That's something that hasn't been active in that role since the 40s, I think. That's just since I've MeTV on your CRT dial has been airing classic Looney Tunes and also Tom and Jerry and Popeye, etc. cartoons, starting like near the beginning of this year. And it's kind of rekindled my appreciation of these characters. So I might actually buy this comic. I'm glad that they're still producing kids comics like this at a cover price of $2.99.
Absolutely.
Yes, because that's what they should be doing, at least to get the kids in the door. Absolutely. So Mad Magazine still technically exists, because I know they fired everybody. So I don't know if these are just like reprints of classic Mad under continued numbering, or whether they're just using freelancers. But I swore Mad Magazine was canceled.
Pretty sure I heard something about that too.
Yeah. All right. Well, here's issue 19 in one form or another on page 56. Whenever you see stories and art by the usual gang of idiots, that's how it says to me they're not even sure who's in it. Another issue of Rorschach. We're up to
Talk
issues
about that in the next comic talk as well.
number 59, page 59 on that one, and Strange Adventures as well. So just to get all your Tom King out.
Yes, I'll talk about them all in the future.
Excellent. All right, let's head over to trades. How about this? Page 67, Batman Adventures, Riddle Me This. All ages collection of stories set in the world of Batman the Animated Series, stars one of Batman's most vexing villains, the Riddler.
Wonderful series.
Oh my God, it's the best. And with stories by Ty Templeton, Dan Slott, and Scott Peterson, with art by Rich Burchett, Tim Levins, covered by Bob Smith and Terry Beatty. Yeah, that's some awesome old school Batman Adventures action right there.
And in all my years of retailing, because I always maintained, as you know, a kids section of like dollar kid comics.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I could find like Batman animated comics, they were difficult to find. They often would not appear in collections. So every time I could grab some, that was always a delight, because they're such wonderful all ages books.
Oh yeah, yep. as it was the anniversary a day or two ago of Freddie E. Williams announcing that he was going to, give up his day job and be a artist full time, a comic book artist full time. I of course need to mention Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, the trade paperback, written by James Tynion IV, art by Freddie E. Williams and Kevin Eastman. These crossovers have been super fun, and they did make an animated series out of the first one. And this collects the third crossover between the two properties, issues 1 through 6 on page 71.
And we'll have some new work of Freddy's to talk about later on in this episode.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other trades to call out, gents?
Well, that one you just scrolled past is kind of interesting.
Sure.
DC through the 80s, The Experiments hardcover on page 73, curated by Paul Levitz. And it appears to be a somewhat random sampling of bits and pieces of experimental narrative that DC published back in the 80s. So we've got, the first issue of Watchmen, for one thing, the first issue of Camelot 3000, the second issue of Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, Angel Love, which was kind of I think the target audience was probably like pre-adolescent girls for that one. Angel Love was about a young woman living in the big city and dealing with real world problems like drug abuse and so forth. And Nathaniel Dusk, which is a private eye. I think that's who's pictured on the cover there.
Yeah, actually, that's a Don McGregor, Gene Colan book. And actually, in Doomsday Clock, they work Nathaniel Dusk into the story as an actual film character.
Right, like a character from a noir film.
And they even name drop McGregor as like they put him into the story essentially. It was a nice tip of the hat. I've never actually read Nathaniel Dusk. Considering I love McGregor, I gotta find those issues.
I've never tried it either, Chris. But that's one of the things you can find in this hardcover.
Yep.
It's just kind of very peculiar, eccentric cross section.
All picked by Paul Levitz, it says.
Yeah. It was he who chose what was going to go into this thing.
Yeah. And the fact that it has Dark Knight Returns #2.
Yeah.
Interesting. Blue Ribbon Digest #58.
Yep.
So it's a curious cross section of the different things that DC was trying as a publisher back then in those days.
I like this kind of concept for a collection. I think this is interesting.
Oh, sure. Yeah. All right.
I'm good for grades otherwise myself.
Let me go through just a little bit here, because I think there was one more thing I wanted to call out. Well, I mean, if you want Jim Starlin working on the New Gods, here's a place to find it on page 79. Mark Evanier and Jim Starlin, art by Paris Cullens, collects New Gods 1 through 14 of a specific era of New Gods books that I have never read, but it's Starlin working in space, and how could you possibly go wrong with that?
It's still possible. Apparently, those stories are from the late 80s, spinning out of the Cosmic Odyssey miniseries, which I just read this summer, and it's kind of a mixed bag.
Fair enough.
Word is spoken.
Word is spoken, and the answer is yes, you can go wrong. And definitely, if you want some fantastic Superman before Bendis took over, right after Rebirth, Pete Tomasi and Patrick Gleason were on the Superman book, and this collects the most of the run of that, 1 through 25, 27 through 28, 33 through 39, and 42 to 45, plus some other spatterings of issues, including Superman Rebirth and a couple of Action Comics issues thrown in there as well. This is a must read if you're a fan of Patrick Gleason's art or Tomasi's writing, or just a fan of Superman. I think you'll really enjoy it. Do not buy it for $125, but you can get it for 50% off at DCBS. You can get it for discounted at Amazon and tons of other places, and that will be worth your money. Or just get DC Universe and read it there. But Superman by Tomasi and Gleason is one of my favorites. Tom King and Andy Kubert on Superman Up in the Sky. This has to be the
That's good, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah, because I was gonna say this has to be the Walmart stuff, because that's the only thing I can think of as to when this happened and how I completely missed it. But very cool on page 82 nonetheless. And I will round us out with 84, Tiny Titans Pet Club.
Oh,
Art and Franco.
great stuff.
So much fun. Tiny Titans was the best and still is the best. And I'm happy to see it collected in any way. And it is again on page 84. On that note, back to the regular previews as we head on over to IDW.
Dave Wachter again.
Yes, indeed.
And James Stucco.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Godzilla Unnatural Disasters. Love that title. They actually
Is there a Godzilla movie coming out, by the way?
there is. I was just going to say, Chris, they actually just announced that movie is happening earlier in the year than originally announced, as King Kong versus Godzilla is supposed to be coming out in March now, I believe. It was originally going to be a summer tentpole, and they decided to move it up. And that'll be one of the ones that's released on HBO Max ahead of time as well, for streaming. So, yeah. This looks cool. A nice collection of creators and artists, and I'm sure it's going to be some excellent kaiju action with Godzilla. Thank you.
I'm looking on page 120. I always love when they go into the history. So Crime Comics Confidential. So this is a collection of Golden Age pre-code crime comics from artists like Charles Bureau, John Buscema. That's enough. Gene Colan, Jack Cole, Reed Crandall. Damn. Mort Meskin, Mike Sikowski, Alex Toth. Wow.
That's some good pedigree right there.
You have to remember, if people aren't familiar with the term, so pre-code obviously refers to prior to the imposition of the comics code, and a lot of the comics that addressed crime, or like a lot of the EC horror stuff, were really graphic for the time period, and a lot of the stuff was cutting edge and really compelling. But that's a whole nother history. That's a whole nother history lesson, which we're not going to get into now. But if you want to see what a lot of comics were like in sort of the Wild West days of the Golden Age and the pre-code era, this is a good collection to look at.
Oh yeah, definitely. And only $40 for some classic action.
200 pages.
Yep.
Let's see.
Chris Eliopoulos writing a Marvel action story.
Always wonderful, his stuff.
Yep. Miles Morales in the first story, and then an experiment gives the Rhino superhuman strength that he immediately uses for evil.
Not just use it for evil, he immediately uses it for evil. Like there's no waiting.
Yep. He gets his super strength, he walks out the door, and he immediately punches someone in the face.
Or he jaywalks, he does something, I don't know. But
yep. We have a Friendship is Magic annual coming out.
Sure enough, featuring a voyage into the underground domain of the Diamond Dogs, whom, as David Bowie fans will know, are poachers and hide behind trees.
Yes. Page 125, and Jeremy Whitley on the writing. And a collection of season 10, volume 1, continuing the story of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic after the show was canceled. And Whitley and Kenny on the writing duties, with Andy Price and Trish Forstner on the art.
And I got nothing else for IDW. Anybody else have anything for that company they want to talk about?
Just flipping through real quick. Sometimes
right there on page 134, something that fans of Turtles and other media have been wondering about for years. Bebop and Rocksteady face to face with their stand-ins from the second Turtles movie, The Secret of the Ooze, Toka and Razar.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Good call, Murd.
I am so happy that's finally happening. Love it. May have happened on one of the animated series before, but I love the image on the cover there, and that's bound to be fun.
It's just oozing character, that image.
Yep. And the minimalist cover on this Best of Michelangelo collection, right below it on 134, is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I'm just reminded because how big TMNT was, sort of like in comic book circles in the 80s. And then I'm thinking, as with everything, there's always the imitators. I just thought of, for the first time in years, adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters. Yep, that's as bad as it sounds.
Outstanding. Oh my God. All right, this is certified cool, so I'll mention it. 140. Rivers. Writer David Gaffney with art by Dan Barry. 3 ordinary weirdos, one recurring dream. The acclaimed minds behind the 3 Rooms and Valerie's Head return with a whimsical and ambitious portrait of human connection in the age of digital fragmentation. You meet the strangest people on the internet. I mean, don't we know it as podcasters? I mean, come on, like we're all strange and weird. Whatever. Okay, we're done. But no, this is immediately the artwork on this looks cool as heck, and I'm digging the general vibe of it. So Rivers by David Gaffney on page 140. And that's it for IDW for me, and onward to Aliens at Marvel.
Okay, so as we mentioned, Marvel has the license, and what matters here is that Salvador De La Rocca doing the artwork.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is what he. What was he working on before this? Was it Doom that he was working on before this?
Well, he's been doing a lot of Star Wars work.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, Paul is one of the most breathtaking Darth Vaders I've ever seen in comics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he just gets better and better.
Yep.
Do we have to talk about this whole crossover, or can we kind of breeze
by? Well, before any of that, I want to mention right here on page 1, they mentioned Venom number 34, and I'm gonna have to sit down. This is the first time in my life I'm saying this. I'm gonna have to sit down and read a Venom book, because Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman's run is concluding next month. We're gonna mention that on next month's previews with Venom number 200. And this was a 35 issue run that has been constantly praised as some of the best Venom stuff ever.
Well, I'm not surprised with that writer involved.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm going to have to check it out and see what I think. But all of this stems at least partially from that sort of stuff. And, I trusted it. But I will also mention Wiccan and Hulkling number 1, written by Teenie Howard with Luciano Vecchio on art and a gorgeous Jim Chung cover yet again. As Jim Chung has his history with these characters with Young Avengers.
You know what, Ian? It's so what I find what's so fast and curious now with all this, and sorry, I just dropped that movie pun there, but we just had like the whole Hulkling as Emperor story, which I never even finished Empire, and now we're so like I can't even catch my breath anymore. That's why I've stopped reading all these crossovers, because like, is he still the Emperor? I don't know.
I never even touched that to begin with. So to me, he's still with Wiccan, and well, I guess if I read this, I'll find out what the heck happened one way or the other, because I'm sure they're going to do it.
Maybe.
Yep.
It says here that the two of them are honeymooning in the Shi'ar Empire, so the odds of the Hulkling still being in charge of the United Kree-Skrull Mega Empire are pretty high, I think.
Fair enough.
Not that it matters.
Yeah. Yeah, Cates and Stegman are the team behind King in Black, the main series.
Great artist. Oh, tremendous artist.
So good. And also, CGS pedigree. as he was at Super Show, and I have a Red Devil of his in one of my sketchbooks, if I remember correctly. Got a King in Black Ghost Rider, King in Black Spider-Man, yada, yada, yada. Nothing really screaming out too much of these. So we'll...
That Busick Namor, I got to read that in trade when it comes out because I missed that book completely, but I'm sure it's Busick doing Submariners, so I can't wait to read that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ben Dewey on art. Because this was another one that was like King in Black in name alone, if I remember correctly. Because I think, wasn't this solicited earlier in the year, right during the beginning of COVID, and then they just, shoehorned it in the King in Black?
That I can't answer.
No, I don't think they did in this case. The Union, they did. That was originally going to be an Empire crossover.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to keep track of what was delayed and what wasn't at this point.
Really.
Wow, look at this King in Black Fantastic Four cover. It's just regular Fantastic Four, the series itself. Dan Slott on writing and Zick Carlos on art. And this Mark Brooks cover is haunting, but beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Speaking of haunting, I just read just quickly the last issue of that wonderful Cantwell Dr. Doom series.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll talk more about this in the comic talk, but boy, does he end on a note that reminds you of how just appalling Dr. Doom can be. More about that later, but woo!
It's already over, Chris?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great series. I think it was 10 issues, but it was superb.
Yeah.
Well, a trade is forthcoming because I would.
Yeah, he really got that character down.
Well, there's technically the Iron Man Doom,
which I also read, which was actually a wonderful Christmas story featuring Iron Man and Dr. Doom essentially in a team up. Which was lighter in tone and really fun. Stay tuned to our next comic.
Yes. I'm gonna read Sword because it's Al Ewing. That's bound.
That's the writer. Yep.
But just look at that text there. Krakoa, we have a problem.
Beta Ray Bill, new miniseries.
Yes. Yeah. Dan Warren Johnson on the writing and the art for this. And that's a sketch variant from Stegman. But here's the main art.
Did I just see Fin Fang Foom?
You did indeed.
Most importantly, is he wearing his shorts?
I'm sure he is. Just so we can hear that wonderful Warren Ellis line of Fin Fang Foom put you in his pants.
I just go back to our rhapsodic discussions between Murdough and I about the Marvel monster period and, Sprag the Living Hill. You can't go wrong.
I'm digging this redesign on Beta Ray Bill's costume. With the whole Roman thing going on.
Yeah, he's got a Roman legionary aspect of his helmet. Yeah.
Very cool.
So this book reminded me of you, Ian. This is like something that you would enjoy.
Oh yeah. Mariko Tamaki on writing and Gurahiro on art. Thor and Loki Double Trouble. Yeah, I am
the brothers.
It's the brothers having shenanigans from the looks of it, and you want to get me to read something.
Is that Loki having tea while Thor struggles for his life?
Yes, it is.
Fantastic. All right.
So Loki becoming a horse for a minute.
And this is one of the alternate covers here. Totally in. That's on page 16. Check it out. Here we are with Alien.
Look at this art.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was born to draw the alien.
Oh, absolutely. He's always been great at drawing monsters, and this is just completely up his alley. So good. And I want to know what they're going to wind up doing with this series, frankly. I really haven't read a lot of Alien comics over the years. I've seen the movies, but this yet again reminds us that no one can hear you scream.
I imagine it's only a matter of time before Marvel starts crossing the xenomorphs over with various Marvel Universe characters.
Yep. Oh, yeah, because this means they have Predator too, right?
Was Predator Fox? It was Predator Fox?
Predator. I mean, Alien and Predator are sisters. Like sister series. So
I'm sure someone can help us out on Facebook with that one, but
yeah. Because if that's the case, I mean, all those Batman versus Predator and stuff like that happened over the years. Like maybe we're gonna wind up getting like Daredevil versus Predator or something like that. Like, you never know.
the first Batman versus Predator is excellent, by the way. The
It is.
original, it's really well done.
There's
Here's
also,
one of my.
well,
What's that, Ian?
I was just gonna say there's also the Batman Dead End fan film, where Batman takes on a Predator, and
I think I've seen parts of that. Yeah.
so good, so good.
Here's one of my favorite sort of not lower tier, but not as well known Marvel characters. Of course, going to be in a movie soon, so they're playing them up here. But Curse of the Ebony Blade.
Mm-hmm.
Love the Black Knight.
Simon Spurrier on writing.
Yeah, I'm going to check this out.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like they're going into his entire history here. From looking at the copy.
It does indeed.
Have they shown any visuals of how he's going to look in the movie, Ian?
No, not really. I'm kind of cagey about that. Donnie Cates, Benjamin Percy, and Teamy Howard all on a Carnage miniseries. Carnage, Black, White, and Blood. Striking image of Carnage here.
It's striking, but Carnage for me is one of those characters that I find so exhausting because so oversaturated that I just don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, there may be some good stories in there, but
something I'm way
more
interested in is the miniseries right afterwards, the Silk miniseries, because Silk's one of those intriguing characters from the Brand New Day era of Spider-Man that I'd love to see more on.
Is that the character where he was like had this overwhelming like pheromone connection to, right? Didn't they actually get involved in a sense because of that? Like,
yeah,
I'm recalling all that. Yeah,
she was like the opposite end of the spider essentially. And they were, I think they wrote it in the continuity that they went to high school together.
Okay,
if I remember correctly.
This is I'm really looking forward to this.
Oh my God.
So it's 80 years.
Yep.
Since the debut of it's incredible. Since the debut of Captain America, and they're going to essentially going to redraw and modernize. They say here his origin and the first appearance of the Red Skull.
Yep.
So again, look, if you look at the creator credits on this, I mean, there's Alex Ross art there, for example. John Cassaday, David Lapham. Wow, LaRocca again.
Pat Gleason.
Yeah, Lionel Francis Yu, Pacheco.
Yep.
Damn. Sarah Pacelli, Adam Cooper.
Yeah.
Jim Chung, Terry Dodson, Joe Bennett.
Epting.
Steve Epting, one of the all-time great Captain America artists. Adam Hughes.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is what a way to celebrate it.
Yep. Look at that cover. Oh God.
That's McNiven, isn't it?
I think so. I'm not 100% positive on that.
Yeah, covered by McNiven, variant cover by Brooks. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. His cap face is unmistakable. Like that's driven into me from Civil War.
Yep.
And Chris, you'll have a Zdarsky to talk about next month, by the way, as they announce something very, very intriguing, Spider-Man related. That
allow me to be surprised.
Yep, very interested in it next month.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, what he did on Life Story is something I still celebrate. So,
yep. And I will be reading this for sure. Yeah, this is the second issue. We talked about the first one in length, but Nicieza and Booth continuing the story of Adam X in the X-Men Legends series.
Suddenly, I'm in 1991, graduating from high school.
Yep. And they just announced the Simonsons are going to have a story in this X-Men Legends set during their X Factor run.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Looking forward to that.
Excuse me.
America Chavez returns yet again and Made in the USA. Kalinda Vasquez and Carlos Gomez. So they did get Hispanic creators for America, which is good to see. And once again, they just announced that America Chavez is going to be in live action in the MCU, introduced in, I believe they said, the Doctor Strange movie, if I remember correctly. So that's going to be, it's going to be cool to see a live action America.
And of course, we'll also talk about, the return of Chris Evans.
Yes, which is still not confirmed, by the way, still not confirmed. But if it does happen, I have my theories, and I look forward to this.
Ooh, I look forward to discussing that in the future, sir.
Yep. How about this?
This also struck me as your meat.
Yeah. Peach Momoko on art and writing, Demon Days X-Men. It's a Marvel story unlike you've ever seen before, they say. But it's very much a manga style X-Men story. One demon is black and white with a terrifying red tongue, and another may be the strongest demon there is in the stunning kickoff issue of the Prestige Quarterly story.
Is that Psylocke?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right.
Yep. Yeah, this is Psylocke. Certainly still a Asian Psylocke from the looks of it. Continuity be damned. This is just a quarterly story, so they can do whatever they want in it. It's this looks like it could be a lot of fun. And that interior artwork, wowie.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Very nice.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful stuff. Oh,
Lone Wolf and Cubs send up here
Yep.
with this one.
For sure.
I don't think I've gotten for issue 1 of this series yet. Eternals.
Eternals, yeah, I think it may have been delayed.
Okay.
But not
Yeah,
sure.
Otherwise,
This came out either last week or the week before.
All right, so it'll be my next shipment then. Okay.
Right. Yeah. But
I'm definitely interested in giving that a try. So.
oh yeah. No, I'll be reading it in about 2 months' time once it's it's not unlimited, but I will certainly be reading it then. That much is a given. This is the 4th time Children of the Atom #1 has been solicited.
4th, really?
I feel like that. If not, it's the 3rd, because this is definitely at least the 3rd time I've seen it in a previews with us discussing it.
This just reminds me, I'm going to date myself again, but the magnificent miniseries under this title from several years ago.
Steve Rude.
Steve Rude, which was just fabulous. Who wrote that, Murd?
I'm afraid it's escaping me, Chris. All I know is that I didn't care for it at the time.
I really enjoyed it. It was a great take on the original Silver Age X-Men. But
the artwork, I didn't like how it played fast and loose with established continuity.
That would be Mr. Joe Casey.
Okay. I remember enjoying that quite a bit.
Somebody whose byline was seen very often at the time.
Indeed. Yeah. Hey guys, wasn't expecting to see X Factor torpedo up the resurrection queue priority. Boneyard's haunted. What? Again, love this series. So yeah, it's knocking it out of the park for me. Big surprise, loving it. That was page 44, by the way. Numbers always come second in these Marvel previews, so I got to make sure to remember to say them. All right, got anything else in singles?
Just the Man-Thing book.
Hold on. For those of you watching the video version, yep, this is a Deadpool 30th anniversary cover by Rob Liefeld. And yes, your eyes do not deceive you. He drew feet.
Oh, yeah.
Special occasion.
Good on you, man. Good on you. Yep. Iron Fist, Heart of the Dragon. We see that.
Actually, go back to that for a moment, if you would, please, Ian. Because
Oh,
Deemer was talking about this earlier. Dave Wackdorn. I ordered the first issue of this because, by the way, she mentioned Larry Hama is writing it.
yes.
Larry Hama's first work, actually, in comics, if I remember correctly, was actually on Iron Fist.
Really?
If I remember correctly. If not, someone can correct me online. But Hama and Dave Wack doing Iron Fist. I'd ordered at least the first issue to try this, and I'm looking forward to it quite a bit.
Oh yeah. I mean, from what I've seen of the preview pages that Dave's been posting, it's amazing. You can't get better than that.
All right, so this is real. I'm really looking forward to this. So Steve Orlando, Avengers: Curse of the Man Thing. So as Murd mentioned, it is the 50th anniversary, correct, Murd,
That is correct.
of the Man Thing character. Both Man Thing and Swamp Thing came out very close to each other, and there's always kind of like this long-running, like sort of light historical question about, because I think was Jerry Conway and Bernie Wrightson living together, or they were roommates or something like that. But there may have been some back and forth. It's unclear. It's all in good fun. But because Merck can of course talk about the heap and the whole tradition of muck monsters that go back in sort of comics history. But both characters are just classics of the Bronze Age. Of course, they both went very different directions. We mentioned before the classic '80s Alan Moore Swamp Thing, which are legendary now. But Man Thing has had some really great stories. The Steve Gerber stuff in the '70s are gems, and it's great to see the character getting its due here with the Avengers. So I'm definitely going to give this a shot. And apparently, the story revolves around someone is trying to use the Man Thing's power when whoever knows fear, right, burns at the Man Thing's touch. So some kind of villain has hijacked the Man Thing's body to use its power on apparently a global scale. So only the Avengers stand between the population of Earth and a planet-wide inferno.
Wow.
Definitely checking this out.
Same here.
Now, until I read the copy, I thought that was Cloak. Sorry, Dagger. Dagger. I actually.
Quick glance, I thought so too.
Yeah.
But this is apparently the new mystery villain, the Harrower.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, historically, I think I misspoke before. I think it was Jerry Conway and Len Wein.
Yeah, Conway and Lee. Yeah, they're very much of the same generation of Penn's turn creator.
Yeah.
Look at that picture.
I'm hit or miss on Acuna. This is a gorgeous Daniel Acuna cover.
Yeah.
Really well done.
Worth noting too that this Man Thing event will be Steve Orlando's first work for Marvel.
Wow.
And beautiful interior art there too. Oh,
very, very pretty.
Yeah, scroll back one page there. I'm sorry, just quickly. What I like about this page is they're kind of, and Murdough recognized, they're kind of giving you one page, like the history of the Man Thing's origin, the scientist Ted Sallis, and injecting himself to try to escape the betrayal of his girlfriend who was working for Advanced Idea Mechanics, and the car going off the road into the swamp. And that's a great page.
It is. Very nice.
Gentle listeners, look forward to our field report of that story when it comes out, because I will definitely be ordering it.
But of course. Now, this lists the new costume of Amazing Spider-Man number 62 as classified. However, it is no longer classified. They have since revealed it. It's interesting. Let me see if I can actually get an image up here of it. And I could maybe stop sharing for a moment and then share that real quick, just so you can see what it looks like, because it is very, very different than any costume we've ever seen on Spider-Man. Yeah, I found it, so I'm actually going to stop sharing for just a moment here and switch my share, and you can see it, and then you can be like, what the heck is this? And then we can move on, because here we are. That is Spider-Man's new costume.
Reminds me of Gravity.
Yes, actually. Yeah.
Which it also reminds me of the 1990s.
Yeah, because Spider-Man Unlimited is the first place that I went. So yeah, that I can certainly see. But Gravity is another excellent thing, because that's the color scheme.
Gravity was a good book.
Yeah. I don't know what they're thinking with this color scheme.
Yeah, it's not grabbing me personally.
Yeah. But. So we'll see just, story wise, if it makes sense, then that's fine, because I'm sure it's not going to last very long.
Of course.
But but yeah, this is This is a direction. Let's just put it that way. It's a direction. We now return to preview screen sharing, already in progress. All right, here we go. What else do we have this month?
Speaking of things that have been solicited 3 or 4 times already.
Oh, yeah. And this sure as heck has. Joe Kelly and Chris Bacallo on Nonstop Spider-Man again. Yeah. Order using April 20 0822. So this was originally solicited in April, the April previews of 2020. It's back. Something we'll bring up probably in further detail on our next comic talk, Chris, but Ta-Nehisi Coates officially announced he's going to be leaving Black Panther.
Oh, okay. You know what? I really enjoyed his run and his epic galactic story.
Mhm.
I read part of it, and then I was just cutting down titles, not because I wasn't enjoying it, just time and money. And I'm sure one day they're going to collect that entire sprawling story
Oh, sure.
between 2 covers. At that point, I will pick up whatever that hardcover is and read the whole thing. But what I read of it so far was fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. It's Henry Peter Gyrich. Again, at some point down the pike, we are going to do, our semi book of the month on Immortal Hulk, the first 2 volumes.
Yep.
That's in the queue. Tremendous series.
Indeed. Maestro issue 3 of Peter David and Javier Pina's Maestro Warren Pax, number 3 of 5.
I should point out I picked up in my latest shipment. I haven't read them yet. I wanted to jump back into Aaron's Avengers, and I decided to jump on with this Dark Phoenix story.
Nice.
So I'll give a report on that once I read those.
Yeah, definitely. I've been meaning to do the same via Unlimited, so I'm gonna have to start doing that myself because it's been a huge run so far. The fact that this has lasted over 40 issues,
and it was great. And again, same thing like with Black Panther. I kind of dropped it to cut stuff down, but what I was reading was excellent.
Yep. Look at that cover.
This book is so goddamn good. I just read the latest issue last night. I think it was issue 3 or 4. Great use of the Hellcat character and her dynamic with Tony.
Nice.
I mean, the art is. This guy was born to draw Iron Man. Like he just so captures the feel and the essence of the character.
Yeah.
And again, Murray, when you have the Controller's in it, Unicorn is in it, Blizzard is in it. Like it's Korvac. Like it's fantastic. It's one of those books where, maybe I get tired of just, the constant sort of factory churning out, series after series of these properties. But when they get a writer who really gets the character and goes back to the essence and then does something new, that's what's happened in this latest version of Iron Man. It's superb.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Literally next on my Marvel Unlimited queue, the first issue. So I'm gonna check that out.
Of Iron Man?
Yes.
I look forward to your reaction.
Yep. Swipe right, Captain Marvel. I guess somebody's going on some dates. Kelly Thompson and David Lopez on Captain Marvel number 27 on page 68. Love this cover. And that looks like it's going to be a fun issue.
Oh, forlorn Iron Man in the back with his banner.
I know. And speaking of Ta-Nehisi Coates and Black Panther, what a striking image this is. Boy, oh boy. That's Daniel Acuna again.
Yep.
I'm a little surprised to see Thunderball of the Wrecking Crew in the rear of that throng.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Huh. Good point, Murd. Yeah, the Union number 4 of 5 and Marvel number 6 of 6. So this will now be collected, and I guarantee you it's going to get the hardcover treatment, and that is going to be the way to read this book because
I read a couple of the issues. I was enjoying it, but I definitely agree that I'm looking more forward to this in trade.
Yes, definitely. Look at that variant cover, by the way. The Liebermejo variant. Whew. Boy, oh boy. End of an era in Guardians of the Galaxy. Don't know if that means the series is ending or if they're just ending the era of Al Ewing writing it. But hey, look, another Al Ewing series I'm going to have to read.
Mhm.
Oh my God, that Runaways cover.
Notice they put Wolverine at his proper stature, by the way.
Yes. Yes.
Right? A
Well,
lot of artists will, either because they want to, they just forget that he's actually short. So,
Well, you can thank Chris Anka for that because Chris Anka knows his proportions and knows his comics history. So he's definitely the man to do that. Guest starring both Wolverine and Pixie in this issue as they try to get Molly to head over to Krakoa. So that should be it. That should be interesting.
so Ian, how have you? I haven't read this. How is this volume of Runaways? Is it being is it acclaimed or?
I'm behind on it, but yes, it is acclaimed and it deserves it.
Okay, 'cause I've always loved. I mean, the Vaughn stuff is tremendous, and I've always loved the concept and the characters, but I kind of lost touch with them after a while.
This is easily my favorite Runaways since Vaughn. Like there's
wow,
there's
okay.
no question about it. This has been really, really well done. They get the personalities of the characters right, and they actually feel youthful and vibrant, while the stories themselves are both fun and interesting. Yeah, it's great. All right, and what else we got in Marvel? Ooh, oh yeah, this is that storyline. A new Daredevil rises to protect Hell's Kitchen. Who could that possibly be in the Daredevil cast? Whoever she is, she's electric. All right, moving on.
Oh boy. Woo!
Page 77.
Here all week, ladies and gentlemen. He's here all week.
Try the veal. Try the veal.
Yeah.
And Umberto Ramos still on Strange Academy. I'm surprised about that. He tends to only last a couple of issues before he goes off and does something else. But he's still on it with his buddy Scotty Young.
This Star Wars series.
Oh my God! Look at that cover. Look at that cover.
Carl Soule is doing great work, and the current storyline. So which is, I think prior to this story, but is just about an Imperial officer, a woman who is tasked with hunting down Leia. It's so well done. And again, what's great about some of these modern Star Wars comics is that they kind of ask uncomfortable questions about how people view the Empire versus the Rebellion, and how some people view the Rebellion as terrorists, essentially, who are disrupting the order of the universe. And I love when they kind of flip the story on its head and look at it from that direction. What's that, Mert?
Topical, I said.
Yeah, and
Some people want to make the galaxy great again.
there you go, my friend. So if you love Star Wars and you want something maybe a little bit more challenging and maybe a little uncomfortable sometimes, this current series is top notch.
Yep, that's on page 79. Look at that Dr. Afra cover on page 83. Just the look of on her face. It's
She's a
great.
character that comes out of I've often raved about the Kieran Gillen Darth Vader series, which is still for me one of the greatest Star Wars comics ever produced. That was in like the first wave of titles Marvel did when they got the Star Wars license back. And she was introduced in that series. If you haven't read that, and also, by the way, Salvador LaRocca drawing Darth Vader, please do yourself a favor. It's a classic.
I wonder if you'll see the Dr. Afra character possibly show up in the Ashoka Tano series.
Oh,
that might be a good way to bridge the gap on that.
Well, she's a character would really lend herself to being in television, or absolutely.
Yeah. All right. And we don't need any statues, so on we go.
There you go, Ian. There's the Predator.
Yep.
That answers your question.
Glad I asked, because now I know. So coming
Dark Horse stuff. Yep.
Coming soon, Wolverine versus Predator. It's gonna happen. Yep.
There it is.
Yep. page 89, a huge omnibus of a large amount of Predator comics from the Dark Horse era. So weird to literally see comics with the name Dark Horse Comics on them collected in a Marvel collection. Oh, okay.
The Rick Remender run.
Wow. Yeah, that was a fascinating run of Captain America. It was very different and very polarizing.
Yes.
He was not ashamed of his love for the Mark Grunwald run of Cap from the 80s and 90s.
Yes. Yeah. Took a while to grow on me, that run, but I did actually wind up really loving it in the end.
Actually, I think I'm thinking of the Nick Spencer run, but
yeah, this is the one that where they put him in the other dimension, right?
Yes.
Kind of remind me in some ways of the vibe from late Kirby 70s Captain America, in some way.
Yeah, he had that daughter, quote unquote, if I remember correctly, in this, or was it a son? I don't even remember anymore.
I want to say it was a girl.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's all of that.
Oh, look at that omnibus volume. Oh, classic Cap Bronze Age.
Indeed.
Scroll up there a minute from Would You Baby? I want to see those credits. No, the other one. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Sorry.
Steve Englehart. Oh, I mean, early Bronze Age Captain America for me is still some of the best stories in the character's history. Secret Empire, the Falcon, Nomad, the Phoenix. No, I don't mean the X-Men Phoenix, but the Phoenix who becomes Baron Zemo Jr. This is great stuff. So I can't recommend these stories enough.
That's on page 92 of the catalog. Captain America Omnibus Volume 3, on sale July 2021. So order this and you're going to wait just a little bit. Speaking of Captain America, the Golden Age Omnibus.
So this is the stuff after Simon and Kirby left Timely. So this might be some of the Commie Smasher stuff. Possibly, depending on what issues it is.
It says 13 through 24.
No, so that's going to be I think the original 40s, more 40 stuff. Yeah. Yeah, because like look at the artists, Sid Shores, Don Rico, all great. Like this is after Simon and Kirby left and Lee starts to cut his eye teeth as a writer.
I love hearing things. Foes include the reanimated murderer Killer Cole. Yeah, that sounds like a Stan creation to me. The lethal and lovely Queen Medusa, and Black Talon and Black Toad.
Yep. Yeah, if anybody's interested, like the late Timely Atlas period of Marvel is really interesting and really goofy in many ways. A lot of the characters that Lee comes up with, it's fun though to check it out.
Yeah. Did anybody read any of this Cosmic Ghost Rider? Because I remember hearing some really cool things about it. And I might have to give it a shot in Unlimited because, again, it is Donny Cates, and even the actor Paul Scheer wrote a little bit of this. Who actually has an episode on the Disney Plus series that they did of like Marvel documentary style things, where he tries to bring back Brute Force as an animated series. Now that I know what Brute Force is, it is one of the weirdest things Marvel has ever done. Nothing quite like a kangaroo with a machine gun. If this be Doomsday.
So if anyone wants to really experience just the essence of Marvel's Silver Age and the grandeur and the glory of that period, just get the omnibus.
Oh yeah.
Like this is, many would argue this is the cream of not just Lee and Carberry's work in Fantastic Four, but of their entire collaboration period. This is, Ian, scroll, let me see the numbers they give, issue numbers here. So, all right, 31 to 60. So basically, much of the Marvel Universe as you know it is created in this time period. So, Galactus, Silver Surfer, Black Panther, the Kree, the Inhumans. I'm forgetting probably a ton of other things. Like it's so much of the heart of Marvel's cosmic history really comes out of these stories. It's the classic "This Man, This Monster" issue 51. There's great Doctor Doom stuff in there. You can't go wrong. That's the peak of their collaboration as far as I'm concerned.
On that same Disney Plus documentary series, they had one episode on the Marvel Method, which mainly focused on Dan Slott trying to write Iron Man 2020. But one of the stories they brought up was, when Lee and Kirby were working together, and the creation of the Silver Surfer, which essentially went along the lines of Stan seeing this guy in the background and being like, "Who's that?" He's like, "Well, he's the Silver Surfer. Like, kids like surfers, so I figured I'd create him." Like, all right.
And Kirby also said apparently that he felt Galactus needed a herald to lead him to new worlds to consume.
Yep.
So.
The Old Republic, written by John Jackson Miller, penciled by Brian Ching and a bunch of others on page 97. This coming back into print because I believe Old Republic is one of the things that's going to be revived in one form or another as one of the movies, I believe. If not, then pieces of it will be. But page 97, if anybody wants some Legends material from the Star Wars stuff. So I believe that's mostly Dark Horse stuff. Giant Size X-Men tribute to Ween and Cockrum on the very next page, by the way. Excellent reproduction of the all new, all different X-Men on Giant Size X-Men #1. Beautiful.
Both creators have passed. Both were tremendous in their contributions to the medium.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. We got any other trades, gents?
I'm good myself. Mert?
Kind of interested in the two that are back to back on pages 110 and 111. We've got a collection of Marvel 2-in-1 stories. I always enjoy Bronze Age team ups. There we go, that Hulk versus Thing cover. And facing it, a collection of early Silver Age Namor stories.
Ooh, I missed that. Well done, Mert.
All of the early Silver Age Namor stories.
Yep.
Wow.
So what's great there is that you have it's Lee. This is Lee doing the Samaritan Silver Age, and you've got Jack Kirby and Gene Colan artwork with Nick Ayers and Wally Wood as well.
Oh boy,
a lot of it's Gene Colan, but if you're a Submariner fan, there's some good stuff in here. So.
And on the very next page, talk about a very different time in comics. Page 112, X-Men Avengers Onslaught Volume 3. They chose.
There's Wolverine in his headpiece.
Oh my God. It was an excellent issue when they decided to remove his adamantium, and it was like a holy crap moment. And then afterwards, Wolverine got weird for a while there. But I remember the Farewell to Xavier issue very well. It was right at my peak of reading X-Men comics on the regular. And it was, it was an interesting time. I mean, back then, look at the creators. You had Mark Waid, Ostrander, Messner Loebs, Larry Hama, Scott Lobdell, Jeff Loeb, and Tom DeFalco on writing. And then, top guns like Diodato Jr., Val Zemeckis, Andy Kubert, and Adam Kubert, and Joe Bennett on art, as well as, Bernard Chang and Joe Mad. It was an interesting time. Onslaught itself was kind of out of nowhere and a little bit convoluted, but a lot of the stuff leading up to that was some really good comic books. So it might be worth a while checking out in one form or another if you have not done so.
Here's a series I've always been very fond of. The original Spider-Girl series. I followed it all the way through, and I just loved the heart of it, the sort of the spirit of it, the youthfulness. I thought it really captured a lot of the, what just the essence of the sort of the world of Spider-Man and the vitality of the character. And again, I love Pat Oliph's artwork.
Yep.
In fact, I have a an original art page in my office from this series where it's basically Norman Osborn telling the story of the Green Goblin, and the page has Norman putting the mask on and show the experiment in the lab where it blows up in his face, becomes the Goblin. It's one of my most cherished pieces of original art. So,
Yep. That was on my honorable mentions for What Ifs and Elseworlds last episode. It was a great time in comics and an excellent run. It just kept going. It kept getting canceled.
Fans kept pushing for it to continue.
Indeed. Yep. All right, and I think that's pretty much it for me. So I think we're over to the rest of the
Gentlemen, per tradition, because it's a school night, I can't hang on for much longer.
No worries.
Because being a teacher now is even more draining than normal. So,
well, before you go into your hot shots here, we do have a Patreon request.
Please.
We have, what is it here? Vampirilla. Going into the Vampirillas here so we can see which one he's referring to. Vampirilla: The Dark Powers on page 168, and also Red Sonja Superpowers. We've mentioned this in passing before, how it's sort of,
Dan Abnett.
Yes, indeed, Dan Abnett. And it's in a lot of ways like a giant crossover with superpowers for both Vampirilla and Red Sonja. But Paul Davidson is on the artwork here, and as you said, Dan Abnett on the writing. And this is the 4th issue of the series, as they earned the trust of an interdimensional superhero collective and been assigned an Earth to protect. But when her superhero mentor goes missing, can Vampy rely on her training to defeat a worldwide threat, or will the evil be too much for one hero to handle?
Bird, is that the Destroyer?
No, that's the Black Terror.
Black Terror. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Black Terror. That's an old. Was he an Atlas character? I forgot, or a Timely character?
None of the above. I'm not sure which minor publisher he came from.
Yeah, I'm brainstorming there.
But his alter ego was Bob Benton, and he was a pharmacist who invented something akin to Our Man's Miraclo, a power pill, which he and his young ward Tim would take, and they'd put on those black piratical costumes and go out and wail on crew.
You just get a chill, ladies and gentlemen. I did. That was vintage Murd right there.
And then 166 had the Red Sonja, the superpowers, as Sonja does what she does best, kills. But when she slays a magical being, hell literally comes calling. Science explorers of the project that had considered Sonja a threat must now trust that the she-devil with a sword is actually a hero. And once again, Dan Abnett on the writing here with Jonathan Lau on the artwork chores. I may have to check this whole thing out when it's all collected.
And I'm glad our listener brought this up, because these are characters I know I've never really read much of. I mean, I know the significance, obviously, but they've got top flight writers. And Christopher Priest, I did read some of the Sacred Six, and I enjoyed it. But again, I wish I had more grounding in these characters, because they're a whole industry unto themselves. I mean, Vampirella has been around since what, the 1960s?
Oh, sure, yeah.
So I'm glad we're noting these.
Indeed. Yep. Those were brought up, by the way, on the Patreon, specifically by Eric Bennett.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, I'll do my little shout outs before I retire for a much needed slumber. I can look forward to a whole day of talking to a computer screen tomorrow. Which is more exhausting than it even sounds. So I wanted to point on page 152, we're still in Dynamite here. I haven't read the most recent stuff, but Dynamite's had the James Bond license for quite a while now, and it's consistently been really well handled.
Yeah.
And I haven't read the more recent stuff, but what was it? Was it Warren Ellis who did some of the early stories, I think, or were all superb? And this is Christos Gage, James Bond, agent of Spectre. So there is a coup with Inspector against Blofeld's authority, and he basically holds the life of Felix Leiter over Bond's head to get him to intervene to try to save Blofeld's position in Spectre right away. I love a good Bond story. I love when they bring Blofeld in, and it's Christos Gage writing it. So this is definitely something I'm going to try. Because I haven't read any of the latest Dynamite Bond stuff, but this I'm definitely. I'm really excited for this. Wow, definitely psyched for that. The other thing I wanted to mention. Bear with me here. So in the Boom section on page 180, a book by Grant Morrison and co-written with Alex Child, illustrated by Naomi Frank Keyes, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that, Proctor Valley Road #1. So a chilling new horror series about the mysterious monsters that haunt Proctor Valley Road and the 4 misfit teenagers who must stop them. Grant Morrison.
Yeah, and Grant Morrison working with Boom. That does not happen very often.
Like a horror book. This sounds really interesting. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on. And then on Boom again on page 190, Adam Smith, Matthew Fox, an original graphic novel. Always happy to see those. The Downriver People. So for fans of Stillwater and Essex County, a new graphic novel who were behind the team behind Long Walk to Valhalla. A man attempting to survive the complicated and dangerous of his family's criminal title intact. He's a bootlegger who just inherited the family business. So interior art looks great. And I always love stories that involve, people sucked into a criminal legacy, so to speak. So that looks really interesting. And let's see, two more things I wanted to point out. I appreciate your tolerating me here, gentlemen. Page 262, the Guy DeLisi travel books. The reprinting here are Burma Chronicles and Jerusalem Chronicles in the Holy City. If you haven't read any of these, he's done several of them. They are absolutely riveting because it's his take, and he goes to troubled parts of the world. It's just sort of his impressions on these cultures that he's experiencing. I can't recommend them enough. Have you guys read any of these books?
No, never have.
Okay. If you love travel, if you're interested in just troubled parts of the world, where the cultures are so different and the politics, they're smart, they're astute. I highly recommend all of his books. So I want to point that out. And of course, my recommendations would never be complete without Tomorrow's. And I just wanted to point out in the Tomorrow section, in the latest issue of Alter Ego. So it's a tribute to the late Gary Friedrich.
What's the page number on that?
333.
Okay.
So, as he was known in the Marvel bullpen, Groovy Gary Friedrich. Now, Gary Friedrich was kind of a tragic figure. He had a terrible drinking problem, which he spoke about very openly in interviews. But for a period of time, he was one of the leading writers at Marvel, as Stan Lee kind of handed the reins over to other people. And he grew up with Roy Thomas. They came from the same hometown in Missouri. And it's Thomas doing a lengthy interview on Friedrich and his work. Of course, Friedrich is the co-creator of Ghost Rider, the Blazing Skull Ghost Rider, not the Atlas Ghost Rider. So this is an issue of Alter Ego I'm really looking forward to. I love when they pay tribute to important and late creators. So, all right, gentlemen, duty calls.
Yes, I do.
As always, this was an honor.
Same here.
And oh wait, Ian, I hope you'll talk later on about your Invincible action figures. Are you gonna?
Oh boy, yeah, they're action figures and they're invincible, and I ain't buying them because I have no room for them.
Fair enough.
Brothers, as always, this is the tonic for the spirit, and I look forward to talking to you both very soon.
Wade back into the trenches of education with renewed vigor, Chris.
My friend, when you put it like that, that puts a little more steam in my strides. Thank you.
Bye, sir. Good night.
Take care. Bye.
All right. And just like that, as usual, let's finish this off, shall we, Murd?
All right.
Okay. All right. So we were right around here. So let's go ahead and scroll through. Do you have anything else in Dynamite?
Nope. I think the Bond thing was the only thing I would have mentioned. Chris did a much better job with that than I would have anyway. So
very good.
Get right back to Boom.
Onward to Boom we go, and let's see if anything else catches my eye. I mean, obviously, the Power Rangers fan in me has to point out there's now a Power Rangers Unlimited because there wasn't enough Power Rangers before. Now we get the secret origin of Astronema revealed in Power Rangers Unlimited Heir to Darkness #1 by L.L. McKinney and illustrated by Simone Ragazzone. Page 176. I love the fact that they're getting this in depth into like the Power Rangers lore and comic books. It's so damn cool.
Out of curiosity, who is Astronema?
Astronema is a character that I believe was created for the comics. I believe. I mean, they say that she's one of the most popular Power Rangers villains ever. I'm gonna look that up right now, actually, so I'm not talking out of my ass here because it's been a long time since I've watched the original series, so she may very well be an original from there. Okay, there we go. Yes, Astronema was one of the villains, the main villain of Power Rangers in Space.
All right.
Yeah. She also showed up on a random episode of Lost Galaxy, which was, I believe, the series after Space. But Power Rangers in Space was one of the last of the original Power Rangers series before they started doing one and done series after that.
I thought it had to be pretty late.
Yes, indeed. Yep. So this is her origin story, and those of you who were fans of the original get to find out a little bit more about an old school villain of Power Rangers here in on page 176. Proctor Valley was already mentioned. Let's see. Here we are. Page 186. I'm pretty sure I kickstarted this back in the day. The Princess Who Saved Herself, written by Greg Pak and Jonathan Colton, and illustrated by Takeshi Miyazawa. It's a adorable story based off of some Jonathan Colton songs. And Greg Pak went ahead and wrote it, and Takeshi Miyazawa, did the pencils for it. And it really, fleshes out the story of the song into a really cool graphic novel for all ages.
Okay, so well, that explains why the prose here appears to rhyme.
Indeed. Yep.
It's cool to see that Greg Pak is involved.
Yes, it is. Yep, page 186. I think if I remember correctly, I actually went to a panel for this back when there was a special edition at NYC, the sort of in between con that read through for New York Comic Con a couple times. And this was one of the panels that was there. I think it might have been the year that they were at Pier. I think it was Pier 96 rather than the Javits Center. But yeah, no, I certainly have a history with this book, and glad to see it recollected in one way or another.
Another Jim Henson's The Storyteller miniseries on page 188. This time, 4 issues of Trickster Myths.
Very cool.
I'm all for that. I had to make a study of those for my undergraduate honors thesis.
Yeah, well, I love the other cover they have for it on the next page. Very, very striking. Looking at the artwork as we sort of whizzed by it when we were checking it out, the Downriver people. One of the main characters of it certainly looks like he may have been based on Mark Maron. Just looking at the general look of the character. Page 191 has the artwork for that, but I am looking forward to it. It does look pretty cool. We only find them when they're dead. by Al Ewing, volume 1 solicited on page 196. We mentioned the single issues on previous previews, so I won't get too far into it. However, I'll just say that the 5 issues of this are at a very easy to buy price of $9.99 with illustrations by Simone DeMeo.
That is a bargain.
Mm-hmm.
There's no new issue of that series out this month, as is standard for Boom, I think. So once they've got 1 trade's worth of issues, they allow a series to take a break for a month or 2, and then it returns.
Yep, makes sense to me. And a hardcover of James Tinian IV's Wind, Book 1, The Flight of the Prince, is solicited. But because it's a hardcover, it's $20 for 5 issues as opposed to 9.
Gotcha.
That's on 197. I think that's pretty much all my Boom. And onward to the rest of the book. Let's see what else we have in this lovely previews. We also go back to the Patreon so we can make sure that everything else gets mentioned here. Let's see. When we get to Mad Cave Studios, we do have a recommendation, so that's a little bit further down.
That's a ways.
Yes, it is. And there's a Drawn and Quarterly and a Fantagraphics to be mentioned as well, so we'll get to those. Don't think I have anything out of Action Lab this month. Oh, and speaking of Freddy, here we are. Yep. A featured item, Tim Seeley and Freddie E. Williams. What a team right there.
And Freddie's artwork is looking very good on display here.
Yes, it is.
The quest would appear to be the story of a group of operatives from the fantasy land of Tangia who have to come over to our world and go undercover in the distant city of Chicago to try and track down some artifacts that have been poached from their world and are being sold in the black market in ours. So it's kind of a fish out of water fantasy adventure thing.
Well, that sounds super fun. Page 212, by the way. And yeah, just in general, happy to see an ongoing series with Tim and Freddie attached, and looking forward to the sort of fantasy bent of it.
And hell.
Yep. From these preview pages on the next page, yeah, this is gorgeous stuff. Wouldn't expect anything different.
Now, here's an interesting concept, or pair of concepts, if you will, on page 214, Undone by Blood, or The Other Side of Eden, written by Lonnie Nadler and Zach Thompson, art by Sami Kivela. And it's kind of 2 series in one. It's both of them kind of pulpy in flavor. It's the story of a mailman in 1930s United States. So it is kind of a Depression era crime story. He takes it into his head to rob the first skyscraper built west of the Mississippi, which is an interesting concept in itself. But he's kind of inspired as he's contemplating this crime and planning for it. He's reading one of the only 2 things he owns in this world, a pulp novel, which happens to be a Western. So it's kind of 2 stories unfolding in parallel to one another. The story of this frustrated mailman as he's planning his crime, and also this Western purple prose kind of story. And so it's going to be kind of like a Alan Moore, Watchmen, Tales of the Black Freighter kind of thing. The 2 different stories and 2 different genres happening side by side.
Huh. I that's a really great way to change things up. This may very well be the type of thing that like draws me in because of that. Then yeah, I'd be willing to give it a go. I mean, it's 32 pages for $5, full color. But I'm more likely to spend that type of money on an indie than I am on Marvel or DC most of the time. So, yep, well worth a look. Doing a whole bunch of scrolling right now. All of you on video get to see it happen because, yet again, it stays in. It stays in. How about on page 235? Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Something Wicked. Script by Kelly Thompson, art by Veronica and Andy Fish. This is the second volume, I believe, of this Sabrina the Teenage Witch series. And I actually just finally finished season 1 of the Sabrina Netflix series and really enjoyed it. Just watched the Christmas episode actually right before we recorded this. And yeah, it's cool to see, you know, modern day takes on the character like Sabrina, and this story definitely, you know, takes its swing at that in its own ways. So page 235 comes out on March 17th. Another graphic novel in the Sabrina the Teenage Witch series.
Is the new series more sophisticated than Melissa Joan Hart's?
100%. Yes.
Happy to hear it.
It's I wouldn't quite say it's in the same vibe as Riverdale, as it is technically in the same universe, even though they never actually got to a crossover. Although supposedly it had the series not been canceled this last year, the next season probably would have crossed over with Riverdale finally. But it's got its own personality to it. It's dark at times, but also really witty and whimsical. And I love the characters, so it's well worth a shot at some point.
Yes. Is there still a talking cat involved?
There's-
Actually,
No talking cat. No talking cat. There's a cat, and its name is Salem, and it's her, you know, like her lifeline in many ways. But he does not talk.
well, we can't have everything, I suppose.
She does have a cousin named Ambrose who is a lot of fun, and takes the role of the Salem character in some ways, but a little more human and a little bit less, you know, puppety. Okay, I'll give this a go. On page 255, Destiny, New York, #1. As usual, they have me at New York. The writer is Pat Shand. The art is by Manuel Pretano. Logan grew up in a boarding school for children with magical prophecies, but she fulfilled her destiny so young that she's now having a midlife crisis despite being in her 20s. When she falls for the estranged daughter of a mystical crime family, Logan's new love puts the entire school in jeopardy. And the artist of this worked on the Oracle Code for DC Comics. And you got some other creators there from Spider-Gwen and a couple other places. Yeah, it looks pretty cool to me. Out of Black Mass Studios on page 255, Destiny, New York.
Check out that Terry Moore variant with a black cat that looks like it probably could talk.
How about that? It's talking right at you. We got a new Lady Death series. That's something I didn't expect myself to say, but page 259, Lady Death Malevolent Decimation by Ryan Polito and Mike McLean with art by Diego Bernard. Never really been a Lady Death fan, but hey, she's got a #1, and she's got a giant sword, and she has a lot of cleavage.
Yes,
So these are all things that many people enjoy, and Coffin Comics has it for you.
Malevolent Decimation. Yeah. 90s worthy subtitle there.
You ain't kidding. Okay. European comic on page 260. I think that's out of Cutaway Comics, if I'm reading it correctly. Mark Griffiths is the writer, John Ridgway on art. From the worlds of Doctor Who, Bob Baker's Omega returns. People of the planet Minos are in revolt against their alien gods. This chaos is being stoked by the rogue god Omega, who longs to free himself from his black hole prison and wreak havoc. But brave Princess Malika, last of the minion royal family, is determined to fight back. And this is art by Hellblazer and Doctor Who legend John Ridgway. And I'm not familiar with the character of Omega, but it clearly has some history to it, and kind of sounds Star Warsy in its plot, and might be kind of cool.
It might well be. I recognize the names of the creators involved, at least, if I don't recognize the character.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of recognizable creators, right below that, Undead Reckoning, it's a Garth Ennis war story. Garth Ennis's Tankies graphic novel, which follows the fortunes of the British Army's Royal Tank Regiment as they trundle along through the killing fields of 2 different wars. And I guess it's about their struggles and the bonds of brothers in arms, as they, and I guess the peculiar requirements of tank warfare and the toll it takes on the men who carry it out.
Well, that sounds right up Ennis's alley.
Mm-hmm. Certainly does, and I think Chris would probably be happy to know that this is being published if he wasn't already aware.
Mm-hmm. Yep. First of the recommendations by longtime friend of the show, Malachi Ward. It comes up here on page 261 from the Patreon. Drawn and Quarterly, Cyclopedia Exotica by writer Amandar Dwali. Shingeru Mizuki, Japan's grandmaster of yokai comics, adapts one of the most important works of supernatural literature into comic book form. Cultural equivalent of Brothers Grimm's fairy tales, Tono Monogatari is a defining text in Japanese folklore and one of the country's most important works of literature. Baby. Wow. That is fascinating to me. Very, very cool.
Japanese folklore brought to comics? Yeah, that does sound cool.
Yes, it does. Once again, page 261. And thank you, Malachi, for pointing that one out. That is very, very interesting. Then on the same page, it's Euro comics all over the place, but on the same page that Chris brought up, the Jerusalem Chronicles, there's literally a comic called Shit is Real. Love the title, by Aisha Franz. And the premise sounds interesting too. After an unexpected breakup, a young woman named Selma experiences a series of reveries and emotional setbacks. Struggling to relate to her friends and accomplish even the simplest tasks, like using a modern laundromat, she sinks deeper into depression. Aisha Franz is a master of portraying feminine loneliness and confusion while keeping her characters tough and real. That description right there, while it does sound like a really sad comic book, it's deep, and I appreciate that. It's not something you see every day in the world of comics.
Yep, some earthy honesty there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think we owe it to Malachi Ward and the creator of the comic we were just talking about to jip back to page 261 for just a second. I just noticed that I think Drawn and Quarterly made a boo-boo. I think they put the wrong solicitation copy underneath Cyclopedia Exotica. It duplicates the thing directly beneath it.
You are 100% correct.
So that could be their fault, or it could be Diamond Preview's fault. But either way, I don't think what we read there actually is the topic of Cyclopedia Exotica. So
I'm going to look that up right now and try to correct that immediately. Let's see. Cyclopedia Dramatica, Drawn and Quarterly. Tell me, Internet.
Search.
Encyclopedia Exotica, not Dramatica. All right, there we go. That's why. Cyclopedia Exotica. Cyclopedia Exotica. Drawn and Quarterly. All right, here we go. Okay. And now it's time for actual solicitation. because this sounds a lot more like what the cover is like, at least. So it's a comic about dating the art world and being a cyclops, from the creator of the wildly popular Woman World. Talk about a different solicitation. So I am very interested in the Tono Monogatari graphic novel Shigeru Mizuki, which is underneath that on the very same page at 261. I'm also interested in this. So it's just in a very different way. But the solicitation reads as follows. Following the critical and popular series success of Woman World, the hit Instagram comic, which appeared on 25 best of lists, Aminder Dwali returns with Encyclopedia Exotica, also serialized on Instagram to her 250,000 followers. This graphic novel showcases Dwali's quick wit and astute socio-cultural criticism. It's about doctor's office waiting rooms, commercials, dog parks, and dating app screenshots, which capture the experiences and interior lives of the Cyclops community, a largely immigrant population displaying physical differences from the majority. Whether they're artists, parents, or yoga students, the Cyclops have it tough. They fight microaggressions and overt xenophobia on a daily basis. I'm very glad that we corrected this, and thank you for pointing that out, Murd, because this sounds fascinating, just in a very different way than what we originally read. And previews, come on. Proofreaders, they're important.
They absolutely are. Computers can't do all the work for you.
Yes, that is 100% true, and that's coming from a man with editorial experience. Yeah, no, this sounds really awesome. And Malachi, you get 2 selections for the price of 1, because I'm interested in what I read, and I'm interested in what you actually wanted me to read. So, so go figure on that. We'll get to your other selection shortly once we get to Fantagraphics. You know, it's funny too. Had I just read what he posted to Patreon, I wouldn't have made that mistake, because he goes into further detail of the Instagram, and I'm like, huh, okay, well played. Where is Fantagraphics on here anyway? Because I'm looking. I feel like I just passed the Fs. They're not in here. Not in here. Did we? Any idea what page Fantagraphics is on?
I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. 266, 267.
There we go. Okay. All right. I somehow completely missed it with my eyes. 266, 267. There we go. Okay. So he specifically points out one story. It's dual graphic narratives by the acclaimed Italian cartoonist demonstrate how the choices our ancestors made dramatically affect generations to come. And Malachi has some commentary on it too, which will probably help explain it a little bit further than the small amount of text on page 267. He said, I read everything from Italian master cartoonist Gippy, whose atmospheric watercolor work is unlike anything else in comics. And then he basically rereads the solicit after that. So for one thing, watercolor, that immediately has me. And it's, again, dual graphic novels. So that's pretty cool. It's, 2 books for the price of 1, essentially, and not too much more money than everything else on this page. So yeah, pretty cool. Okie dokie. Now we continue to scroll again. Find out what else we got. Page 274. Definitely an all ages comic. Definitely an all ages graphic novel comic. Allergic. Anybody who's allergic to dogs, this is for you. Because I mean, even there from the cover, like you got a girl who's getting affection from her dog and covered in rashes, because sometimes allergies be damned, you still want a pup. And that's the case here with Allergic by Megan Wegner Lloyd and Michelle Me Nutter on page 274 out of Graphics with an X. Very cute.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, Steve Orlando has a new book. Page 275, Starward. Starting college at the end of the summer is stressful enough for Stephanie Cohen, since she's giving up her love of classics to please her parents in pre-med. But classics crashes into her life when she realizes she's the reincarnation of a stellar warrior tasked with guarding the cosmic door to chaos. That description came out of nowhere. Steve Orlando and Ivan Shavrin on Starward, 275.
Yeah, 8-issue miniseries coming out from Heavy Metal, and heck, it's only $2.99 per issue.
Yeah, that sounds like it's gonna be a good time. Now I have the Heavy Metal theme stuck in my head. Page 283. They say for fans of They Call Us Enemy, which, won a bunch of Eisners, A House Without Windows by Mark Ellison and Didier Kassai. By the delicate hand of Didier Kassai comes a comic book documentary about the street children of Bagwai, told in a style that mixes photo and illustration. It's about the Central African Republic, where children grew up in a state of insecurity, poverty, and malnutrition. And the 2013 conflict only exacerbated this situation. It sounds like it's going to be a head trip more than anything else. And, very autobiographical from the looks of it, and just documentary style comic books at its finest. A House Without Windows on page 283. I'm going to continue to scroll because nothing.
You just passed Mad Cade.
Oh, did I? Let's see. Why, yes, I did. I believe I did. Yeah, I did. There we are. Okie dokie. That works. And let me make sure I call out the individual who actually called it out, and that is Christopher Murrin. Chris Murrin, well, again, longtime friend of the show. And he has Nottingham on his list. Now I'm trying to find the actual. There we are. Okay, good. It was further down on the page the entire time. Page 289. David Hazan and Shane Connery. In this twisted medieval noir, the sheriff of Nottingham hunts a serial killer with a penchant for tax collectors. The sheriff's investigation makes him the target of England's most nefarious power brokers. That's to say nothing of the merry men, terrorists lurking among the trees of Sherwood, led by an enigma known only as Hood.
Very interesting. Well, the phrase medieval noir draws one right away, but now to hear that it's kind of an inverted telling of the Robin Hood legend, it's very a worthy pick, Chris.
Yes, indeed. Yep. And the cover too, with the crying blood out of the helmet, is a very, very striking image and draws you in immediately. All right. Very good. I don't really have much else that I remember, so I'm just gonna see if anything does catch my eye other than 296 here in Oni. Jana and the Unpossible Monsters, written by Chris Samnee and Laura Samnee, illustrated by Chris Samnee. You want to get me interested in a comic book, that's a way to do it. And it looks cute as heck.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
more kid-friendly style than say his Daredevil material, but
To say the least, I'd say. Oni's calling it their biggest comic event of the year, and I could see why, because this has like animated series on Cartoon Network written all over it if they can get the rights going, because this looks very, very adorable. It's about Rainbow, who's been searching for her sister Jana for a year. The last time she saw Jana was also the first time she saw one of the monsters that now roam the planet. They're big, ugly, and dangerous creatures driving humanity to the brink of extinction. Though there isn't much hope for survival out in the wild, Rainbow knows that her sister is out there somewhere, or she'll do anything to find her. Very intriguing, very cool. I am 100% in on this. So, yeah, Jana and the Unpossible Monsters #1. Great character designs, too. And the artwork to boot. It's like there's some fun joyriding happening outside your window right now, Murd.
Yeah, I guess it's that time of the night.
Mm-hmm. Well, since I'm wearing a Rick and Morty shirt, I may as well mention a Rick and Morty comic on page 308. Rick and Morty presents Jerry Buree #1. It's a field trip. The multitude of Jerrys at the Jerry Buree Daycare Center take a trip to the most out of this world arcade in all of the multiverse. Blips and Chicks. The most hapless men in any dimension face to face with the bleeding edge of arcade technology. What could go wrong? Everything, brah. Everything. Grace Thomas on writing, illustrated by Gina Alnott. I wish this was an episode of the show because this sounds hilarious. But I'm glad we at least got a comic.
Interesting that the costumed character in Jerry Buree here is Sleepy Gary as opposed to Beth.
Yes. Love it.
Yet another Loud House graphic novel from Paper Cuts. That was at the top of page 311 there.
Yep.
That's
Oh, yeah, there it is.
the 12th in a series, the 13th if you count the winter special. So they've got a hit on their hands.
They do. Yep. And the animated series is still airing, correct?
The what?
I said the animated series is still airing, correct?
Oh, yes. Yes, it is. It's I think it's midway through its 5th season.
Nice.
And it spawned a spin-off in the Casa Grandes.
Ah, very nice.
Top of page 312 there, we've got a graphic adaptation of one of my favorite Disney movies, The Sword and the Stone.
Oh yeah, good catch. Good catch. Very cool.
It used to be a tradition on either my birthday, which happens to be New Year's Day, which is a significant date to the story because there's a tournament to decide the new King of England on New Year's Day in the story. I always used to watch this movie either on New Year's Day or the night before. It's not exactly the proudest period in Disney animation, but I do love this movie.
Oh yeah, no, and that's a very cool tradition. And hey, the art of this is by Studio Fun, so it's bound to be fun.
Oh yes, and also Studio.
Yeah, yes, that too. Yes.
Oh. Autobiographical graphic novel of one of my favorite artists, Edward Hopper, there at the bottom of page 312. Creator of Nighthawks, which I use as the wallpaper on my laptop.
Yeah, and funny enough, one of my favorite independent movie theaters in Brooklyn is called Nighthawk Cinema.
Do they have a reproduction of that painting in the lobby somewhere?
You know, I'm not sure. I don't think so. Most of their motif is movie artwork, but I wouldn't be surprised if they've still got their name from that. right next to that, by the way, still on 312. 312 just keeps on giving. Golden Age Classics, Fight Comics, Softy Volume 1 by one and only Will Eisner and various. Join us as we delve into the pages of the classic comics from Fiction House, featuring the talents of Will Eisner, Lou Fine, George Tuska, Alex Blum, Fred Schwab, and others, as this collects Fight Comics numbers 1 through 3. Very cool.
There's some giants of the Golden Age included in that collection, no question.
You got it. Yep. Page, let's just keep going all ages, shall we? Page 314. Astor and the Accidental Magic, Volume 1 by Tom Pico. Quiet birds, nature. That's what Astor expects when her parents move their whole family to the middle of nowhere. It's just her. It's just her. Status super bored. Her mom and dad, status busy with science. Her brother, status has other plans. And magic? There's always magic, isn't there?
I like to think so.
Yeah, exactly. It's cute. It's very cute. It's worth checking out.
And our friend Eamon Clark would want us to mention on that same page, Roy of the Rovers, best of the 70s hardcover. It's English football comics.
Oh, boy. Oh, my God.
Storylines ranging from Roy highlighting and taking a stand against hooliganism to the alternate history of joining a World Cup qualifying England team in 1978. It's a perfect gift for soccer fans, young and old.
Don't you mean football fans?
I do mean that. Yes, that's why I put the English term soccer. I mean, the American English term soccer in heavy quotes there.
Yes. It's footy. It's footy.
It's the footiest.
Oh, boy. Yeah, just looking at that cover, like you could tell it's from the 70s and it's a sports comic because the perspective is just so weird. Like,
let your eyes roam up to Roy's hairstyle there, and that's clue number 2.
Yeah, right. Got another H.P. Lovecraft book coming out on 3/18, collected as a graphic novel. The Case of Charles Dexter Ward. Takes place in Providence, Rhode Island in 1928. A dangerous inmate disappears from a private hospital for the insane, his method of escape baffling the authorities. Only the patient's final visitor, family physician Dr. Marinus Bicknell Willett, himself a piece of the puzzle, holds the key to unlocking the case of Charles Dexter Ward. And it's another of H.P. Lovecraft's finest. This one is art by I.N.J. Culberd. I'd love to know what the I.N.J. stands for.
I'm kind of intrigued myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And from the same artist, we've also got the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath and Shadow Out of Time. So it's 3 different Lovecraftian offerings.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they're all on 3/18. Got a graphic novel about George Orwell coming out on page 320, written and drawn by Pierre Christin. Orwell's most celebrated work, 1984, and the prescient vision it contains of a society governed by Big Brother, predates the constant monitoring of people and data we are familiar with today by almost 70 years. But his life was every bit as fascinating and forward-looking as his books. This book will go into that and more, I'm sure. Got a history comics book on page 323. Steranko's History of Comics, Volume 2. Written by Steranko. Got a gorgeous cover by Steranko as well. Chronicling the spectacular 100,000 word volume. The Epic Story of Comics Golden Age by Steranko himself. And this is Volume 2 in softcover.
Glad this is being kept in print. And it's in its original very large 11 by 14 inch dimensions.
Wowzers. That's super graphics on page 323. $329. There's a Minions comic coming out. I'm just going to mention it as not only is it for kids, but it's also for parents everywhere. Because for some reason, parents just love Minions, especially like grandparents. They're always posting Minions memes on Facebook and stuff like that. It's crazy. But Minions Sports #1, Stephanie Lapis and Renaud Collin, drawing the Minions, dealing with sports. It's probably going to deal with the Olympics at some point, but yeah, those got delayed. But it's on sale March 3rd. Minions Sports #1 coming out of Titan $329. I'm gonna have the Minions and their fire truck noise stuck in my head for the rest of the night. Bee doo bee doo bee doo. I'm approaching manga at this point. But if you have anything before then, by all means, sir.
I don't believe I'm going to be standing in your way.
Okay.
Looking through Valiant and Vault here and finding nothing of note, so go right ahead.
Okie dokie. Sounds good to me. And it is manga time, baby. As I scroll like I've never scrolled before. Okay. And here we are. Hey, look, it's Mob Psycho. I've never seen that before. Okay.
That kid is stalking us, I swear.
Oh, I know. He's everywhere. Every month, he's just staring at us with those eyes. Okay. Now to find a first volume that calls to me. Here we are. Page 366. It's out of Tokyo Pop. Our Not So Lonely Planet Travel Guide, Volume 1. Super serious Asahi Suzumura and laid-back, easygoing Mitsuki Sayama might seem like an odd couple, but they made a deal. They'll vacation around the world, and when they get back to Japan, they'll get married. As they travel from country to country, the different people, cultures, and cuisine they encounter begin to bring them closer together. After all, they're not just learning about the world, but about themselves too. So it's a travel guide. We can't travel right now. This is as close as we're going to get to traveling.
Okay, it's a little bit of a vicarious experience there.
Exactly. Yep. So page 366, Our Not So Lonely Planet Travel Guide. If you're really looking to live vicariously through people, and the art looks pretty fancy too. So there's that. All right. Page 377, Dr. Stone Reboot. Byakuya. Learn what happened when the world turned to stone in this special side story to Dr. Stone. You know what? Never mind. I'm going to skip that because I just realized it's a freaking side story. So if you're not going to even tell me about Dr. Stone, then it's not even worth my time. I'm just going to continue scrolling down. I take back that recommendation and I put it back in the holster. Looking for one more. Okay. 384 out of Yen Press. Love of Kill Volume 1 by Faye. She's a professional hitman, and he is also a professional hitman, and she's his target. Caught in a deadly game of cat and mouse. Will she fall first, or will he? It's Mr. and Mrs. Smith in manga form. That sounds cool.
Mm-hmm. My thoughts exactly.
Very good. All right. And I'm not even interested in this, but I like calling out very overdone, clearly Japanese titles. And on page 387, all I have to say is, Bo Fury, I don't want to get hurt, so I'll max out my defense. Could it be more Japanese? No. That's all I'll say. It's apparently based on a hit anime. So yeah, if you want to check that out, page 387, you can. But you know, that's up to you. And on that note, I believe that's a bolt shot. Let's say.
And mine as well. And of course, Chris has already mentioned this, which we've already established is not so much on your radar, which is fine.
Yes, exactly. I would get them if I had any space for them at all. And if there comes a point in my time when I'm not living in a 1-bedroom apartment and there's only so much real estate, then I will think about it. But until then, not so much. I barely have enough room to play my my Ring Fit Adventure on the Switch. And that takes enough room to begin with, and I need exercise space for that, and I barely have it, like just that much going on there. Can't fill the room with anything else. All righty, so that is that, and how about we go ahead?
Odyssey completed.
Yes, another Odyssey completed indeed. And how about we remind folks who our sponsor is?
Our sponsor for this and quite a few episodes recently has been the Collection Drawer Company, maker of Drawer Boxes, the easy access comic storage solution. Visit them at collectiondrawer.com and sample their wares today.
Yep. And once again, patreon.com/comicgeekspeak is where you can go to become a patron of the show. And we thank you very much if you do. And my personal Patreon is over at patreon.com/comictiming. If you'd like to put money towards the production of this and other shows, and also get a few of my shows before other people. We'll hopefully be recording something tomorrow for release next week as one of the first ones out the gate with that. And we'll see where we go after that. But yep, it is good times all around. And now for the Shane's seat, Murd. And Murd, make sure you have your stuff first because I'm about to share my screen.
Oh, I got that stuff.
Okay, great. So I will share my screen yet again here. And let's play that end credits theme, shall we? Here we go. Oh, wait, hold on. What's not happening? Let's see. Let's try that one more time. Oh, yeah, right. One of these days, I'm going to have to actually remember to pot up the music after I fade it out, and then this won't happen. Okay, let's try that.
Let's take a bit of practice.
Exactly. I know. Yes, from experience.
If you'd like to send us an email, our address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. If you'd rather leave a voicemail, you can call 267-702-6642. You can like us on Facebook and also join our Comic Geek Speak supergroup there to discuss various geeky topics and talk back about this podcast with your fellow CGS listeners and Facebook friends. You can do the same thing at the comicforums.vanillacommunity.com. You can follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @ComicGeekSpeak. You can donate to our Patreon, as Ian has mentioned a few times. We would like to give special thanks to those of you who have supported us via that Patreon and other means over the past several years. We truly appreciate it, and the show would not be what it is today without your help. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
You watch the video, you get to see us chair dance. All right.